Yep. Ugh. Well, that shouldn't be what the background is. Hang on.
What is it?
It's your background. I didn't. Maybe. No. Hang on. Good evening, everyone. The lady sabotaged me. Hang on.
What?
Sabotage.
What are you
There we go.
doing?
Never mind. Fixed it. Fixed it. All hail Mia Mumu Mittens Lerner. Who is that? I had your voice coming from 3 different tabs. the castle is coming from inside the house. Ashley, hello, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. All right, just a reminder, my cat. Oh, I suppose I probably could have inferred that from the name. But hello, my friends, welcome in. Let's see, who all do we have? But first, I want to remind everybody that we are on the one book per night schedule for this week. We're still going to test out to see how everyone likes it. So tonight we are reading Silverthorn only. And of course, we'll have songs and whatnot. Castle reading the lady's story? No, not tonight. The lady just shouts and says, "Oh God, they're at it again."
What?
That's just what Maddie said.
I didn't hear.
Oh, he said the lady laughs and shouts, "Oh God, they're at it again."
Oh.
Let's see, we've got Matty, we've got Erin, we've got the Capitan, we've got Teresa, we've got Kristalla, and we have Ashley. Did I miss anyone? Tonks is also in. Tosenby, I appreciate you very much, but no thank you. Destiny, can I make you... No, I can't. I can't make you a moderator on Kick. I don't even know how to do that. So it is what it is. So we have Kristalla, we have Ashley, we have Erin, we have Ashley, we have Teresa, Matty. Alright, excellent. Excellent, my friends. And I think we had Tonks over on YouTube, though I will presume Tonks is not going to stay because we're not doing Harry Potter. Jessica, hello, good to see you, welcome in. Welcome, 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 my friends. Yeah, I don't know why, I don't know how I'm supposed to add moderators over on Kick, but it doesn't let me. Oh, here we go, hang on. Alright, Tonks, have a good night, rest well. I appreciate you dropping in for a second. Live Mars, people. Is Erin on a Taco Bell kick? Is that what's going on? Yeah, welcome to Tech with Castle. So there's a section where it lets me add moderators, but when it's the same problem as that I have with Facebook. When I type in your name, it does not let me. It doesn't let it says you don't exist. I guess your account isn't verified or something. It's the only thing I can possibly think of. Oh well. We'll just read. How about that? Esther, hello, hello. I presume also the bear is in. I think I saw him drop in. Darth Nexus, hello, welcome in. Thank you for the heart, me. I appreciate you. Butterbeer time, yeah, heck yes. Sword Talk, hello, and welcome in. Ah, yes, the bear is in. Hello, bear. Good to see you, my friend. Esther, good to see you as well. Welcome, my friends. Eden's having a fire whiskey. I is here. All right. Well, friends, fill your glasses, fill your seats. Let's begin with story time. Aaron's not sober. You are you're competing with Marty to be the most chatty, huh? Thank you for the stretch. So talk. Appreciate you. And for the sip. I'll jump on other platforms in a moment. I appreciate you, Bear. Take your time. We're having a slow start to the evening, so you guys need not worry. Thank you for the 34 Your Awesomes, Ashley. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. The little kitty cat with the thumb up is adorable. Alright. Alright. So we are on chapter 5 of Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. And when we last left off, Jimmy the Hand had just narrowly escaped being murdered by the Upright Man, who's the leader of the Mockers, the Thieves Guild in Rillanon and Crondor. Now, the interesting thing that we learned at the end of last chapter is that Jimmy the Hand, the young thief who helped Arutha and Anita escape from Crondor the last time that they were there in the previous book, the Upright Man is actually Jimmy the Hand's father, we've just learned. And so the Upright Man negotiated so that Arutha would make Jimmy the Hand a squire in his court. And it was a very, very interesting turn of events. And this was all after the absolute insane back and forth with the Dark Elf, essentially. Murdered or executed for breaking his vow. That would be more accurate to say. He was to be put to death for breaking his vow to the Mockers, which, in this time, if you were a part of a guild like this, very, very, very would have likely... I can turn up the mic on my end. It might be a little bit low. Don't want to be too loud. I'll blow everyone's eardrums out. Petra, hello. Good to see you. I hope all is well. What did I miss? You have missed nothing. This week we're only doing one book a night to see how everyone likes it. So tonight we're only doing Silverthorn, and we are in the midst of something heated. We haven't even gotten to the crux of this story yet, and it's insane. Jaeger, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Did you at me when you came in? The negotiation was a brilliant scene. If you haven't watched that episode, I would strongly recommend going back. Betty, good to see you. Hello, welcome in. Around for the tavern. Absolutely. I'm feeling rebellious tonight, plus I missed everyone. Finally feeling a little better today, so sleepy. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling up to being in. But if at any point you need to go and lay back down, don't. Oh, for sure about the volume. Again, I have my AC on now. It's getting hot here. Yeah, it's hot. You all need to make sure you're hydrating properly and staying cool, because it's dreadful. We're already in the midst of what is looking to be a dreadful summer here in California. Kill them all madly. How to traumatize every Star Wars fan. Master Skywalker... There are too many of them. What are we going to do? What is this hydrating? It's when you drink your coffee, but one stage before it becomes coffee. I appreciate you, Ashley. I'm glad that you dropped in. I hope everything's going all right with the family. I guess I hope you're doing well. I'm doing quite. I'm warm. I'm. You can see I am sweltering a little bit, glowing a tad. But all in all, I'm well. The lady is well. Ah, so Creamer got it. You guys are incorrigible. Thank you for the D&D as well. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. Make sure that this is... Alright. Let us begin, friends. We are on chapter 5 of Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. Yes, I do love you all. That's why I would prefer you all drink water and stay cool, so you don't die. It's either creamer or bean, really. I mean, you should eat the beans too, because you need protein. I appreciate you guys. I got to show it, and it is deeply appreciated. Aaron, you need to slow down. You're gonna pass out before the end of story time. Captain Hoodie out here preaching to the choir. Es gibt Wasser in Bier. There is some water in beer, but not enough. You mean that white-colored drink cows make? I mean, that's... I drink quite a bit of milk myself, so I can't argue with that. All right, let us begin. Chapter 5, Obliteration. Arutha studied the old thief. The upright man's messenger had waited while the prince read the missive. Now the prince's eyes were upon him. Know you the contents of this? To the specifics, no. He who gave it to me was explicit in instructions, said the old thief, now robbed of his ability by age, rubbed absently the bold pate as he stood before Arutha. He said to tell you the boy could bring you easily to the place where he's named within, your highness. He also said to tell you that word has been passed around regarding the boy, and the markers consider the matter closed. The man cast a brief glance at Jimmy and winked. Jimmy, who was standing off to one side, breathed a silent sigh to relief at hearing that. The wink had told him that while Jimmy could never be a mocker again, he at least would not be denied the streets of the city, and that old Alvani the Quick was still a friend. Arutha said, Tell your master I am pleased with his swift resolution. Tell him we have an end to this matter tonight. He will understand. Arutha waved for a guard to escort Alvani from the hold and turned to Gardon. Select a company of your most trusted men, and any pathfinder still in the garrison. Any who are new to our service shall be passed over. By word of mouth, tell each to muster at the postern gate. Beginning at sundown, by ones and twos, I want them sent into the city, using varied routes and with sharp eyes for signs they are being followed. Let them wander and dine as if they were off duty, though any drink should only be sham. By midnight, they are all together at the Rainbow Parrot. Gadon saluted and left. When Arutha and the boy were alone, the prince said, You must think I've dealt harshly with you. Jimmy's face showed his surprise. No, Highness. I thought it a bit strange, is all. If anything, I owe you my life. I was worried you'd resent me for taking you from the only family you knew. Jimmy shrugged off the remark. And as for owing a life, he leaned back, finger against his cheek as he smiled. We're even, Squire James. For had you not acted quickly the other night, I'd be shorter by a head. They both smiled at that, and Jimmy said, "If we're even, why the office?" Arutha remembered his pledge to the upright man. "Count it a means of keeping an eye on you. You're free to come and go, as long as you discharge your duties as a squire. But should I find a gold cup missing from the pantry, I'll personally drag you down to the dungeon." Tesla darling, thank you for the follow over on Kick, my friend. Welcome in. White Horse, hello, hello. So very glad that you could join us. Yes, we are reading Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. It is the third book in a series called the Rift War Saga. The first two are called Magician Apprentice and Magician Master. And they are very good. Slow, but very good. Oh, good lord. So much spam on Kick. It's insane. Everybody wants to sell me viewers. I'm fine. I can barely handle the ones I have. Yes, yes. Erin says we aren't that bad. I didn't say you were bad, I said you were a handful. Matty is enough for a lifetime, that's true. That's true. Alright, where was I? Jimmy again laughed, but Aruthu's voice took on a more somber tone. Also, there's a matter of someone's foiling an assassin upon the roof of a certain Fuller's house earlier this week. And you've never said why you chose to come to me with the news of that, Nighthawk, rather than report it as you were wanted to do. Jimmy looked at Arutha, his gaze older by years than his boyish face. Finally, he said, "The night you escaped from Crondor with the princess, I got caught with a full company of Black Guy's horsemen on the docks between me and freedom. You threw me your sword before you knew you'd be safely away. And when we were closeted in a safe house, you taught me swordplay. You were always as fairly spoken to me as you were to any other." He paused for a moment. "You treated me like a friend. I've had few friends, Harness." Arutha indicated understanding. "I also count few as true friends. My family, the magicians, Pog and Coogan, my father, Father Tully, and Gardon." His expression turned wry. "Larry has shown himself to be more than a simple courtier, and I think he may prove a friend. I'll even go so far as to name that pirate Amos Trask a true friend. Now, if Amos can be the friend of the Prince of Crondor, why not Jimmy the Hand?" Jimmy grinned, and there was a hint of moisture in his eyes. "Why not indeed?" He swallowed hard and raised his mask again. "Whatever happened to Amos?" Arutha sat back. "Last I saw of him, he was stealing the king's ship," Jimmy guffawed. "We've not had word of him since. I'd give much to have that cutthroat by my side this night." Jimmy lost his smile. "I hate to bring this up, but what if we run into another of those damn things that won't die?" "Nathan thinks it unlikely. He thinks it happened only because the priestess called that thing back. Besides, I can't wait upon the temple's pleasure to act. Only that death priest, Julian, has offered to help. And we've seen how much help those who serve Lim's Kragma can provide, Jimmy added dryly. Let's hope Father Nathan knows what we speak. Arutha rose. Come, let's get the rest we may, for the night should prove bloody work. Throughout the night, bands of soldiers dressed in common garb of mercenaries had been wending their way through the streets of Krondor, passing one another without a flicker of acknowledgement, until at 3 hours after midnight, over 100 men were in the Rainbow Parrot. Several were dispensing uniformed taverns from large sacks, so that the soldiers would again be in the prince's colours during the raid. Jimmy entered in the company of 2 men dressed in simple forester's garb, members of Arutha's elite company of army scouts, the Royal Pathfinders. The senior Pathfinder saluted. This youngster's got the eyes of a cat, Highness. He spotted our men being followed to the inn 3 times. When Arutha looked at them questioningly, Jimmy said, 2 of them were beggars known me, and they were easy to intercept and chase off, but the third, it may have been he was simply following to see if something was up. But anyway, when we blocked his way down the street subtly, you may be sure he simply moved off in another direction. It could have been nothing. It also could have been something, Arutha said. Still, there's nothing more to do now. Even if the Nighthawks know we're doing something, they will not know what. Look you, here, he said to Jimmy, pointing to the map on a table before him. This was given to me by the royal architect. It is old, but he thinks it's a fair accounting of the sewers. Jimmy studied it for a moment. Perhaps a score of years ago it was. He pointed to one spot on the map and then another. Here there's been a collapse of wall, and while the sewage still flows, the passage is too narrow for a man. And here there's a new tunnel, dug by a tanner requiring a bit more rapid disposal of his waste. Jimmy studied the map for a bit longer, then said, Is there a quill and ink, or charcoal? A piece of charcoal was forthcoming, and Jimmy made marks upon the map. Friend Lucas has slipped me out to the sewers in his basement. Behind the bar, the old owner's mouth dropped at hearing that piece of news. What? How'd you know? Jimmy grinned. Rooftops aren't the only thieves' highway. From here, he pointed to the map, companies and men can move to these 2 points. The exits from the basement of the Nighthawk stronghold are cleverly located. Each comes out of a tunnel, not directly connected with the others, and the doors may be only scant yards apart, but it's yards of solid walls of brick and stone, with miles of twisting sewers to travel. To gain one from the next, it would take an hour to find your way from one exit to another. It's this third one that's the problem. It empties out near a large landing, with a dozen tunnels to flee down. Too many to block. Godon, who was looking over the boy's shoulder, said, Which means a coordinated assault. Jimmy, can you hear if someone is breaking in one of the doors and you're at the other? Jimmy said, I should think. If you slip someone to the top of the stairs for certain, especially this time of night, you'd be surprised how many little noises filter down the streets during the day, but at night. Arutha said to the 2 Pathfinders, Can you find each of these locations from this map? Each nodded. Good. Each of you will guide a third of the men to one of these 2 entrances, and the other third will come with Gardon and myself. Jimmy will guide us. You will position men, but not enter the basement, of that building unless you are discovered first, or you hear our party assaulting those within. Then come with all speed. Gardan, those on the street should be in position. They have their orders, Gardan said. Each has been instructed. A first hint of trouble. No one is allowed to leave that building unless he wears your tabard and is known by sight. I have 30 archers in place on the rooftops on all sides, discouraging any seeking quick exit. A herald with a trumpet will sound alarm, and 2 companies of horsemen will exit the palace at the bugle. They will reach us within 5 minutes. Any in the streets north of our company will be ridden down. That is the order. Arutha quickly put on a tabard and tossed one each to Jimmy and Laurie. When all were wearing the prince's purple and black, Arutha said, "It is time." The Pathfinders led the first 2 groups into the cellar below the inn. Then it was time for Jimmy to lead the prince's group. He took them to the slip-me-out behind the false cask in the wall and led them down the narrow stairs to the sewer. The stench caused a few soldiers to gasp and utter soft oaths, but a single word from Gardan restored order to the ranks. Several shuttered lanterns were lit. Jimmy motioned for a single line to be formed and led the prince's raiders off toward the merchant's quarter of the city. After nearly half an hour of walking, past slowly moving channels carrying waste and garbage towards the harbour, they found themselves approaching a large landing. Arutha commanded, the lantern shuttered. Jimmy went forward. Arutha tried to follow his movements, but was astonished as the darkness seemed to swallow him up. Arutha strained to hear him, but Jimmy was noiseless. For the waiting soldiers, the strangest thing about the sewers was the stillness, broken only by the sound of slow water lapping. Each soldier had taken care to muffle all armor and weapons, so should there be a Nighthawk look out, he wouldn't be alerted. So, Bethany, they are raiding the Nighthawk stronghold, and it seems that they've found that in the sewers. I don't remember that from the last chapter, but it very well could have happened, and I just am not remembering. But they are in the sewers raiding the Nighthawk stronghold, from my understanding. And yet, Whitehorse, we are redoing quite a few of the stories that we have on the Tavern. I think that most of the ones that we had on Northsmith are still up. But if there's one that is missing that you would like to have, you can always leave it in a comment and I'll make sure to expedite it. Eve, hello! I've been waiting to watch you again. Us in the Tavern, yes, so very glad to have you back in the Tavern. Very good to see you. Tron Travolta, hello my friend, welcome in. For all of our friends just now joining, fill your glasses and fill your seat. Story time is rolling. Matthew and I both missed you and the lady. How are you both doing? I hope you and the family are well. We missed you too, Ashley. I'm glad that you are doing better. I hope your family and everything is well and that all of the excitement has calmed down. We're doing well. We've been busy as all get out. But, well, perhaps, I don't remember them talking about... I remember that the Mockers had promised to find... Oh, you know what? No, I'm misremembering. The Mockers and the Upright Man had promised to find the Nighthawks base, and they did. And the messenger at the beginning of the chapter that Arutha was talking to, the letter that he gave him was the location of the Nighthawks base. That had to have been it. But yeah, the lady and I are doing quite well. We've been working probably far too much. But we really have a lot of wonderful things we want to get out. The lady is working on something really brilliant, and if it works out, it is going to have what incredible implications for the stories that we'll be able to tell. I don't like we try not to mention things too quickly because we never know how long a thing is going to take. Because sometimes we think it's going to be a couple of days, and sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. So I'm trying to get better about not announcing things before they're done. Because I get excited about a thing and I want to share it with you guys, and then something will happen and it gets delayed, and then I feel bad because I got you guys excited about something that didn't come out. Yes, finally it's calmed down. Woofta, it was crazy for a while. I'm so glad you're all well, and I'm glad that you are as well. You have to give Matthew a big slobbery kiss from us. Good night all, I'm so sleepy, falling out. Good to see everyone for a short time. It was good to see you too, Kristalla. I hope that you rest well, and that the stories from the tavern send you off to dreams of adventures and rest, and that you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day, all buffed from your adventures and your dreams. Oh my god, we should do Matty's book when it comes out. I'll tell you what, when Matty is ready for it, I will give everyone a chapter read from Matty's book. We still need Viking Raspberries merch. Did the lady hear that? Lovey? Oh, she has headphones on. She can't hear me. She can't hear anything I'm saying. Val, thank you for the roses. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Yeah, also give Matthew some corn from us as well. That is appropriate. No, she's working. The thing that I was just talking about that I don't want to spoil, that's what she's working on. So. She has her headphones on because she's checking to see if we have the means necessary to do what it is she wants to do, which... Val, thank you for the Deenies as well. I appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. I had somebody who watches regularly on TikTok message and ask why I don't push the gift goals on TikTok anymore. And to be fair, I never really did. But after all of the drama that happened with TikTok, where we weren't sure if everyone was going to be able to keep watching, I'm not encouraging people to spend any amount of money on TikTok because I don't want you guys to have... I mean, it's helpful for getting the content out for sure, but I also don't want to ask anyone to spend money on TikTok when I don't know if you're going to be able to keep it. That's what you think, Castle Stagwell. She is actually excellent at ignoring. Like, she can turn her ears off with nothing over them if she really wants to. Alright, let's continue, friends. Jimmy pulled his dirk out of his boot and slipped away. Suddenly, there was a painful grunt, and Arutha and his men were off. All thoughts of silence discarded. The prince was the first to reach the boy, who struggled with a powerful guard. The youth had come up behind the man, and had leapt and grabbed him around the throat, but had only wounded him with the dirk, which now lay upon the stones. The man was nearly blue from being choked, but he had tried to smash Jimmy against the wall. Arutha ended the struggle with a single thrust from his blade, and the man slipped silently to the stones. Jimmy let go and smiled weakly. He had taken a terrible battering. Arutha whispered, "Stay here," to him, and then signaled his men to follow. Ignoring his promise to Volney to wait behind while Gardon led the assault, Arutha silently hurried up the stairs. He halted before a wooden door, with a single sliding latch, placed his ear next to it, and listened. Muffled voices from the other side caused him to raise his hand in warning. Gardon and the others slowed their approach. Arutha quietly moved the door's latch and gently pushed. he peeked into a large, well-lit basement. Sitting around 3 tables were about a dozen armed men. Several were tending their weapons and armor. The scene was more reminiscent of soldiers' common than a basement. What Arutha found more incredible was that this basement was located below the most richly appointed and successful brothel in the city, the House of Willows, one frequented by most of the rich merchants and no small portion of the minor nobility in Grondor. Arutha could well understand how the Nighthawks could gain access to so much information about the palace and his own comings and goings. Many a courtier would boast of his knowledge of some secret or another to impress his whore. It would have taken more than a chance mention from someone in the palace that Gardan had planned to ride out to the east gate to meet the prince for the assassin to know Arutha's route that night earlier in the week. Abruptly, a figure entered Arutha's view that made the prince catch his breath. A Mordrell warrior approached a man who was sitting oiling a broadsword and spoke quietly to him. The man nodded while the Dark Brother continued his discourse. Then suddenly he spun. He pointed directly towards the door and opened his mouth to speak. Arutha didn't hesitate. He shouted, "Now!" and charged into the room. The basement erupted into a riot of action. Those who had moments before been sitting idly now grabbed up weapons and answered the assault. Others bolted out the doors leading up to the brothel and down to the other parts of the sewers. From above, screams and shouts told of customers alarmed by the fleeing assassins. Those who attempted to leave via the exits to the sewers were quickly pushed back up the stairs into the cellar by the other units of Arutha's invading force. Arutha ducked a blow by a Mordrell warrior and leapt to the left as a soldier fought their way into the center of the room separating the prince from the Dark Brother. The few assassins who stood their ground charged into Arutha's men with complete disregard for their own lives, forcing the soldiers to kill them. The sole exception was the Mordrell, who seemed to be in a frenzy trying to reach Arutha. Arutha shouted, "Take him alive!" The Mordrell was soon the only Nighthawk standing in the room, and he was forced back to the wall and held. Arutha came up to him. The Dark Elf locked gazes with the prince, naked hatred upon his face. He allowed himself to be disarmed as Arutha put up his own sword. Arutha had never been this close to a living Mordrell before. There was no doubt they were the elven kin, though elves tended to be fairer of hair and eye. As Martin had remarked more than once, the Mordrell were a handsome race, if one of dark soul. Then, as one soldier bent to examine the Mordrell's boot top for weapons, the creature kneed the guard in the face, pushed away the other, and leapt at Arutha. Arutha had barely an instant to duck away from hands outstretched for his face. He moved to the left and saw the Mordrell stiffen as Lori's blade took him in the chest. The Mordrell collapsed to the floor, but with a final spasm, reached out a claw to Arutha's leg. Lori kicked the creature's hand, deflecting the weak clawing motion. "Look well at the nails. I saw them gleam as he let himself be disarmed," said the singer. Arutha grabbed a wrist and inspected the Mordrell's hand closely. "Careful now. Careful how you handle it," warned Lori. Arutha saw tiny needles embedded in the Dark Brother's nails, each with a dark stain at the end. Lori said, "It's an old horse trick, though only those with some gold and a friendly children can get it done. If a man tries to leave without paying or is giving a beating to his horse, a simple scratch and the man is no longer a problem." Arutha looked at the singer. "You have my debt. Banath preserve us." Arutha and Gardon turned to see that Jimmy had crossed to a fallen man, fair and well-dressed. He was staring at the dead assassin. "Golden," he said softly. You knew this man? Asked Arutha. He was a mocker, said Jimmy. In my life, I would not have suspected him. Is there not one left alive? Demanded the prince. He was in a fury, for his orders had been to capture as many as possible. Godin, who had been taking reports from his men, said, Highness, there were a full 35 assassins in this basement, and the rooms above. All either fought so our men had no choice but to kill, or turned and slew one another, then threw themselves upon their own weapons. Godin held out something to the prince. They all wore these, Highness. In his hand was an emery hawk on a golden chain. Then there was an abrupt silence, not as if the men had stopped the movements, but rather as if something had been heard and all had instantly halted to listen. Yet there was no sound. An odd dampening sound occurred, as if a heavy, oppressive presence had entered the room. And an eeriness descended upon Arutha and his men for a brief moment. Then a chill fell on the room. Arutha felt his neck hair rise, and some primordial dread fill him. Something alien had entered the room, an unseen but palpable evil. As Arutha turned to say something to Gardan and the others, a soldier shouted, Harness! I think this one is alive! He moved! He sounded eager to please his prince, and then a second soldier said, This one too! Arutha saw two soldiers lean over the fallen assassins. All in the debasement gasped his horror, as one of the corpses moved, his hand shooting upward to seize the kneeling soldier by the throat. The corpse sat up, forcing the soldier upward. The terrible wet cracking sound of the soldier's throat being crushed echoed in the room. The other corpse sprang upward, sinking his teeth into the neck of the second guard, ripping open his throat, while Arutha and his men were rooted in shocked silence. The first dead assassin tossed away the choking soldier and turned, fixing milk-white eyes upon the prince. The dead man smiled, as if from a great distance. A voice sounded from the grinning maw.
Again we meet, Lord of the West. Now shall my servant have you, for you have not brought your meddling priests. Rise, oh rise, my children, rise and kill!
Around the room the corpses began to twitch and move. The soldiers gasped and offered prayers to Tith, the soldiers' god. One, thinking quickly, hacked the head off the second corpse. As it started to rise, the headless corpse shuddered and fell, but began to rise once more, while the rolling head mouthed silent curses, like grotesque marionettes manipulated by a demented puppeteer. The bodies rose in jerks and spasms. Jimmy, his voice almost quavering, said, I think we should have waited on the temple's pleasure. Godon shouted, Protect the prince! And the men leapt at the animated corpses like crazed butchers in a cattle pen. Soldiers began madly chopping in all directions. Gore spattered the walls and all who stood in the room. But the bodies continued to rise. Soldiers slipped in blood and found themselves overwhelmed by cold, slimy hands that gripped arms and legs. Some managed to throttle cries of dead fingers closed around their throats, or teeth bit hard into their flesh. Soldiers of the Prince of Krondor hacked and slashed, sending limbs flying through the air, but hands and arms only flopped madly about on the floor, like bleeding fish out of water. Arutha felt a tugging at his leg, and looked down to see the severed hand gripping his ankle. A frantic kick sent the hand flying across the room to strike the opposite wall. Arutha shouted, Get out! And hold close the doors! The soldiers swore as they cut and kicked their way through the blood and pulped flesh before them. Many of the soldiers, hardened veterans, were coming close to panic. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for the horror they faced in that basement. Each time a body was knocked down, it would but try to rise once more. And each time a comrade fell, he stayed down. Arutha led the way towards the door, leading upstairs. The closest exit, Jimmy and Laurie followed. Arutha paused to cut apart another rising corpse, and Jimmy dashed past the prince. Jimmy reached the door first, swore as he looked up, stumbled down the stairs. Towards them came the corpse of a beautiful woman, wearing a diaphanous gown, torn halfway and spreading a blood stain from her waist. Her blank white eyes fastened on Arutha at the bottom of the stairs, and she shrieked in delight. Jimmy ducked under a clumsy slash and drove his shoulder into the bloody stomach, shouting, "Where are the stairs?" They both went down, and he was first to his feet, scrambling past her. Arutha looked back into the basement and saw his men being pulled down. Gardan and several other soldiers had reached the safety of the far doors and were attempting to close them, while stragglers who were frantically attempting to reach them were being pulled down. A few valiant men were pulling close the doors from inside, ignoring the sure sentence of death. The floor was a sea of gore, wet and treacherous, and many soldiers slipped and fell, never to rise again. Detached body parts seemed to somehow gather together, and the corpse would stand once more, remembering the creature in the palace and how it had gained in strength as time passed. Arutha shouted, "Bar the doors!" Lori leapt up the stairs and struck at the grinning whore. Once more at her feet, her blonde hair rolled past Arutha as he raced up the stairs after Jimmy, and the singer reached the ground floor of the House of Willows. Arutha and his companions were greeted with the sight of soldiers struggling with more animated corpses. The horses' companies had arrived, cleared the streets, and entered the building. But they, like those below, were unprepared to fight dead opponents. Outside the main door, several bodies, impaled with dozens of arrows, were trying to rise. Each time one would gain feet, a flight of bow shafts would strike it from the dark, knocking it over again. Jimmy glanced around the room and made a leap atop a table. With an acrobat spring, he jumped high over a guard being strangled by a dead nighthawk and grabbed at a wall covering. The tapestry held his weight for a moment, and then the room filled with a loud tearing sound as it ripped free of the fastening high overhead. Yards of fine cloth fell about. I lost my place. Fell about Jimmy, and he quickly disentangled himself. He grabbed up as much cloth as he could, dragged the tapestry to the large fireplace in the main room of the brothel, and dumped it into the fireplace, then started overturning anything that would burn into the room. Within minutes, flames were spreading about the room. Arutha shoved away a corpse and yanked down another tapestry, which he tossed to Laurie. The singer ducked as a dead assassin lunged at him and tangled the corpse with the fabric. Quickly spinning the dead creature, Laurie wrapped it in cloth and with a kick sent it stumbling towards Jimmy. Jimmy leapt aside and let the cloth-bound thing stumble into the rapidly spreading flames, tripping it as it went past, and the dead man fell into the flames and began shrieking in rage. The heat in the room was becoming unbearable, as was the choking smoke. Laurie ran to the door and halted just before the threshold. "The prince!" he shouted, and the bowmen atop surrounding the building. "The prince is coming through!" "Hurry!" came the answering shout as an arrow knocked down a rising corpse a few feet from Laurie. Arutha and Jimmy came out of the firelit door, followed by a few coughing soldiers. Arutha shouted, "To me!" At once a dozen guards were dashing across the street, grooms brought along to hold the cavalry mounts. The stench of blood and burning bodies and the heat from the fire were causing the horses to nicker and tug at their reins as the grooms led them away. When the guards reached Arutha, several picked up arrow-studded bodies and tossed them through the windows into the fire. The shrieks of burning corpses filled the night. A dead nighthawk stumbled out the door, and its left side ablaze, its arm outstretched as if to embrace Arutha. Two soldiers caught at it and hurled it back through the door into the fire, disregarding the burns they suffered as a consequence. Arutha moved from the door where the soldiers denied exit to the corpses seeking to flee the inferno. He crossed the street as the most exclusive brothel in the city went up in flames. To a soldier, he said, Send word to those in the sewers to make sure nothing gets out of the basement. The soldier saluted and ran off. In short order, the house was a tower of flames, the surrounding area lit like day. Neighboring buildings spilled their inhabitants into the streets as the heat threatened to ignite the block. Arutha called for soldiers to form bucket lines and douse the buildings on both sides of the House of Willows. Less than half an hour after the blaze began, there came a loud crash and a billowing explosion of smoke as the main floor caved in and the building collapsed. And Arutha said, "So much for those things in the basement." Arutha's face was set in a grim expression. Some good men remained down there. Jimmy stood transfixed by the side, his face smudged with soot and blood. Arutha placed his hand upon the boy's shoulder. "Again, you did well." Jimmy could only nod, and Laurie said, "I need a strong drink. Gods, I'll never get that stench out of my nose." Arutha said, "Let's return to the palace. The night's work is done." And so ends chapter 5 of Silverthorn. And we're only an hour in. That means we're going to have time for a second chapter tonight, friends. Oh. Jared, hello, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. So very glad that you could make it. Oh. This book just simply is not slowing down. The whole reanimated corpse thing is insane. That was a quick chapter, Esther. And also, hello. I know I said hello to you when you were on Facebook, but hello again. We are reading Silverthorn, Jared, by Raymond E. Feist. It is the third book in the Rift War saga, which, if you were in for Magician, it is the third book in this series. This book is 2 books. It is Magician Master and Magician Apprentice. You're everywhere. Dang, I know, it's insane, right? No ranting. Well, yeah, no ranting for that chapter. We did pretty good. You know what? You know what is weird, though? If I had paid attention to the outside of this book. So this is the cover. And we had talked about how this cover was a bit underwhelming in comparison to the cover of the other book. Because like this has this really brilliant like architecture, and we see the person who is, this is either Macros or Pug standing here on the edge, and it's just got a really brilliant dark illustration. King's Road Connoisseur, thank you for the follow. Welcome into the tavern, my friends. So very glad that you could join us. But this one is a little bit like 80s plain in contrast to it. This is Jared again. This is the channel I was talking to. Oh, okay, excellent. I'll give it a look once I'm finished with story time tonight. But if I had looked at the back, there is a dead man laying right here in royal armor. So it's very. If I had paid attention, I would have known that we were going to have some strange things going on here. And it kind of makes me wonder who this is, who this on the cover is supposed to be. Bear, do you or Herring have any insight into who this might be? I just grabbed a piece of applesauce cake on snack. That sounds delicious, actually. Do we know who this figure on the edge of the book? You can't judge a book by its cover. Yeah, that's true. But obviously, there's a corpse there in the little corner behind the barcode. These books are very good. So I've said before that I appreciate the way that we do story time here in the tavern, because it means that I am forced to read things I normally wouldn't. And this book, the first book in this series, Magician Apprentice, is very slow. It is a very slow burn. It takes like 200 pages to really get going. 150 pages before anything really exciting happens. And it takes a while to get going. So it took almost 200 pages for this to get going. And I normally would not read a book that takes that long. Like, and it's not to say the beginning of the book wasn't good. It was just a lot slower than what I normally will go with. Applesauce cake. Oh my god! This is what Petra said she was eating over on YouTube. But yes, I would never have read this, and one of the tavern patrons recommended it, made their case over in the guild, and it got voted in, and we read all the way through it. And it's funny is that Spearsy's not even here anymore. Minutes to Midnight was the one who who talked us into reading this. And Spearsy, I don't think has been in probably close to 6 months. Missed the entirety of the book, but. There are a few others. Herring and Bear were big fans of it. But Magician is the first 2 books in the series. Magician Apprentice and Magician Master. Excellent book. Absolutely well worth it. It is a wonderful book. And then the 3rd book of the series is much smaller. Much more manageable. And that's what we're reading now. This one is right off the bat. Like, this one starts off with just absolutely takes off and starts running pretty much immediately. I think if you keep the drinks in Erin, Matty, she'll be recommending your book all the way up to the end. I tried to get into it. I'm going to give it another go, but I love the fact that I'm collecting books. I love it too. I'm glad that the tavern is talking a lot of people to getting back into books. Some folk who haven't been big readers in a while got into books because of story time in the tavern, and that means the world to me. Okay, so here's the question. Let's see how long the next chapter is, because we're for sure going to do another one. Okay, so chapter 6 is reception. And this is about 20 pages, so this should tide us for the rest. So we should definitely be able to get through this. Should probably do it sober. Next series of books I'm buying is the Resident Evil series. I haven't read the Resident Evil books, although we have quite a few patrons who have really been pushing to get the Warhammer series read during story time. Evening to my tavern family, Castle, always an honor. I was able to make it in finally. It's good to see you, Frost. I'm glad that you made it. Welcome in, my friend. Okay, so here's the question, friends. Would we like to go directly into the next chapter? I hope that corpse doesn't turn out to be a Ruther. So, Ruther's name is... You almost got it right. It's Arutha. So you got your U and your R backwards. Daisy, thank you for gifting Frost a sub over on Twitch. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you kindly. Twitch is having ads. I guess I stopped at the perfect time. We had a pretty good pause moment. Do a song or two, I think we have time. I think so too, Baird. I love Resident Evil more than pro wrestling, and I made a full channel based on pro wrestling. Fair enough. Fair enough. I love Resident Evil. I love the games, though. I've never read the books. I was a big fan of Resident Evil all the way up till Resident Evil 5. I love the lore and history of Resident Evil, but I've never read the books. Big Ed, hello! Darth Big Ed followed. I thought you were already following, my friend, but I'm glad that you're here. Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. You've marked us on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time you seek stories in the tavern. Alright, so I'm gonna hop up real quick, stretch my legs. When I come back, we're gonna do 2 songs, and then we will carry on with one more chapter in Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. I appreciate all of you, and we'll be right back, my friends. I wonder if the BRB's... No, you know what? I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to leave it like this so you guys can see the chat. Welcome back, my friends. Lyoko, thank you for the DD and for the heart me. Tips to the Tavern Keeper are always appreciated. All right. Let's get... I'm having a difficult time following this book for the opposite reason I had a hard time following the other two books. This one is non-stop right out of the game. The other was hard to follow because it was so slow in places. I'm with you. It's losing me in some places too, and I'm having to take a second to slow down and realize like what is all is going on, because he's lightning pacing through the story in this. But also, Lyoko, hello, it's good to see you. Is everything all right with Milu? Sorry, I'm not consistently active in chat. I'm just in a space. It's okay, Milo. If coming in for the stories helps you feel better, then that's what they're here for. If being able to converse and convene with the other patrons makes you feel good, then that's what it's there for. You don't ever need to feel pressured to be in chat or to respond to anything, or there are no requirements for being here for story time. I know some people, like some of you feel bad that you don't chat a lot. Some of you feel bad that you can't tip or give subs or do this. None of that is required. The whole point of doing the reason the lady and I put in so much work on other things is so that we can do this without you guys feeling the need to be pressured. Because streaming, being live on Storytime, that is not the lady and I's profession. We want to be making things for you guys full time, but we're doing that through other means so that you guys don't have to feel pressured to give us things and be here all the time. So, you don't need to be in your head about it. You are more than welcome to just sit and relax and enjoy yourself. And if chatting with the other folk makes you feel good, then please go ahead and do it. There's nothing that is required of you except for to be here. And if you don't even have to be here if you don't want to be. But hey, will you stop? He's not doing anything. Leave him alone. You fruit. So, and if there's anything that you want to get off your chest to talk about, you're more than welcome to. You know, I always say that we're always trying to. We always try to keep the atmosphere light and happy and enjoyable, but sometimes people come in and they've lost a family member, or they've lost a pet, or they lost a job, and you're not coming in to get sympathy. Sometimes you just want to share that something bad happened, and you want other people to be aware that, hey, I had a bad day, and I'm glad I get to be here with you all. Sometimes I have a bad day before I come in here, and I'm glad I get to come in and spend it with you guys. I love it. Nothing's wrong with being inactive. I mean, I disappear for weeks on end, and Castle always welcomes me. Because once you're a regular forever. And if you don't make it in for 6 months, as long as if I can still recognize you, you weren't gone for too long. I love that people can disappear and reappear as needed, and we'll always welcome them back home to us. Absolutely so. Val, thank you for the DDs. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper. Always appreciated. I'm a regular at this point. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Sometimes you're away for a while. Your journey took you to a place where you couldn't find the portals to the tavern, and that's all right. As long as you make it back to us and you enjoy the time when you're here, that's all it is. Yeah, Erin is spending her paychecks before she gets them in here. Grace Cave, hello, my friend. Welcome in. I couldn't because TikTok sucks, but yeah. TikTok is constantly being a pain on that run. But anyway, Milu, you don't have to talk about what's going on. Just know that whatever you're going through, You're welcome to go through it, and you're welcome to go through it here in the tavern. Whether you want to talk about it or not, you're welcome to go through it, and if you need to just hang out in the background and relax while you do it, that's more than acceptable. And you'll never have to apologize for it, and you're always welcome to chat, because I tell you guys all the time, if you're being dumb, I'll tell you that you're being dumb. If you're having a hard time, I'll tell you my opinion on what you need to do to fix it. And if you just want to rant and rave for a little bit so that somebody heard you, and then that's it, give it a go. The only rule is don't try to ruin the experience for anyone else. Take your adventure and bring some stories when you come back to us. Exactly that. Duncan, is that you? Nefatul Fatlafel Gaming. You're gonna have a hard time branding that one, but hello, my friend. It's good to see you. Castle, Elsie and I are regular patrons. We derive great pleasure from sitting in the background and listening to your captivating narratives, and I appreciate the heck out of you and Elsie. Esther, it's wonderful to have you. And we appreciate you all for that. You guys are amazing, and we love you for what you do. And every one of you who shows up on a regular basis, you're a major part of why we get to do this. And like I said, if we keep growing at the rate that we're growing, the lady and I will be bringing you guys stories full time by the end of the year. The lady is sitting right across from me right now, working on something that is truly, and I mean truly, magical for you guys. Like, we do absolutely, like, everything. At this point, the lady and I don't really make anything off of what we do, because everything that we do, we turn around and we put back into the stories and the things we're trying to make for you guys. And I don't say that as a poor us. We're excited about it. We get to do these things, and that's very exciting for us. And the more it grows, the more we get to do, and that is incredibly exciting, and we love to do it. Another book, a board game. Well, right now we are working on the Book of Grimm. That should be done very soon. I have the chapters for Twisted Fates done, and we're going to be getting those recorded soon. Aaron, I don't want to say anything because I don't know how long it's going to take, but if we can pull it off and the lady gets it done, it is going to be really amazing. Is the wild and untamed Duncan of Tale or Tale? It's good to see you, Duncan. I'm glad to see you with your tie on, my friend. And we appreciate you. I'm glad you guys enjoy what we do. That's all I can say. I am glad. I'm telling you, you got to read the SW novels. Remind me, Gracekiv, what are the SW novels? I love this community. The Tavern community is the best, and I love you guys. We love you guys too, Val. Like, we love that so many of you enjoy what we do, and the fact that you guys put enough time into this. Like, you guys watch enough that it's a potential that we'll be doing this, and it's a very real possibility in the next year or two we could build an actual tavern. Like, I don't want to get anybody too excited about that, because that's a long ways off. But like, these things are all possibilities and probabilities, and it's all because of you guys, and we love that. Tavernopoly, a board game, assisted kidnapping. Am I a willing hostage here now? Yeah, of course. Oh, the Star Wars. Yes. Actually, I don't know, since the last time you were in here, the lady and I came across the whole original trilogy in a paperback. Gracekiv. As awesome goal for the tavern, I would love to support that. Alright, Castle, I have to disappear for a bit again. I have work at 3 a.m. and I need to sleep. Alright, go ahead and rest, my friend Jared. It was good to see you. Yeah, I'm good to be back to doing. I've been behind, you know all well. The wheel never stops. The wheel never stops. That's a fact. Jail is being with Matty locked in a room. Matty would interrogate you without even realizing he was doing it. Castle, Elsie and I concur that this venue is an ideal platform for sharing your narratives and folk songs. I'm glad that you and Elsie both enjoy, Esther. I'm glad. It is exciting stuff. The lady and I have several. The lady is about half done with her book that she's working on. I'm probably about half done with the first book in the Book of Grimm series, and the first set of the Twisted Fate series, which I don't know how many of you do and don't know what that is, but that's the series where I am writing a chapter for each one of the characters, and then you as the readers get to decide where they go. Then we write the next chapter, we put it out in a narrative, and then you guys choose again and again and again. Love is the light. Love is too light a word for how I feel about the tavern. And you guys, you flatter me when you say stuff like that, Frost. I know whenever there's a physical tavern, I won't be able to visit it. I'm perpetually in poverty. I'm only not homeless or worse thanks to my parents. Well, see, but that's the thing. Once we have the tavern, I will make it an opportunity for everybody to visit. Like, we will have giveaways for visits and all other manner of things. So the tavern will be a place that everyone will eventually get an opportunity to visit. Matty's living in the closet with the goblins. All right, let's get 2 songs under our belts, and then we'll get another chapter of Silverthorn in. Now that I've got my rant and rumble done. Perfect place for Matty, right? He's hanging out with Harold and Harriet in the closet. I just need a hammock or a pile of pillows in the corner. I feel like that some days. I'm not a particularly mushy sort of man, but every once in a while I'll wake up and I'll just roll over and crush the lady for a few minutes to recharge so I can go out in the world. Do you know Red Rose Cafe? I do not, Bethany. I don't even think I've ever heard of that. But I can give it a look. Let's see. Molly Sue says, I'm grateful for the tavern and look forward to the day you're able to make it a physical place. Me too. And, you know, whether it happens 2 years from now, whether it happens 10 years from now, the lady and I will not stop pushing towards that until either it happens or we're dead. And even if I were to, for some reason, pass away, I know that the lady would keep pushing forward. There probably wouldn't be as many stories without me, but even if I weren't here anymore, I know that she would keep pushing just for you guys and to keep the memory of the tavern alive. Okay, so the Red Rose Cafe by the Furries. They come from the farms and the factories too. Hang on, let me look this up, see if I can find the tune, and maybe I'll give it a run. I feel the same, Destiny. I feel the same. Well, let's not plan on my death yet. I mean, it's not exactly like I have a long time to go, but we'll... I appreciate you all saying so, though. Alright, so it's Red Rose Cafe. Oh, Celtic Thunder did it. Interesting. Let's take a listen. No, thank you. I don't need new car insurance. Hopefully so, Esther. Hopefully so. Okay, this is the tune to this is odd, but I think I could probably manage it. So let's give it a go. We're gonna try a new one tonight. We're gonna try the Red Rose Cafe. Is it Matty slang? It's probably Matty slang, if we're being perfectly honest. Tsunami, hello, welcome in. It's good to see you. I only have a second. I'm excited for today. I fixed my phone today. How are you, Mr.? I'm very good, Tsunami. It's good to see you. That's very exciting. And I'm glad that you were able to drop in. Sorry, I was listening to the tune of a new song that we're going to try. And it's probably going to sound terrible, but I'm going to give it my best. Oh, it's Snoke from the Star Wars. Oh, okay. I forgot about him because they made him out to be this big thing. The song I'm thinking of could also be Red, Red Rose. There are too many songs with the word red and rose in the title together. So the song that the Red Rose Cafe starts out like this. They come from the far. They come from the farms and the factories too, and they all soon forget who they are. The cares of the day soon are washed away as they sit at a stool by the bar. The girl with the green eyes and the Rolling Stone shirt doesn't look like she works on the land. The man at the end, he's a very good friend of a man who sells second-hand cars. Or a good friend of a man who sells cars second-hand. Is that the song you're thinking of, Bethany? That's the first verse, and then it's got a chorus, then it's got a second verse, and then the chorus again. Snoke was a great concept. I thought he was going to be a great villain. And then it just ended up being a nothing burger. But Sinobi, I'm glad that you got your phone fixed, and I'm glad that you made it in. That's wonderful news all the way across the board. Yeah, I've never heard this song either, but it's by an Irish band, so it falls technically into it. Why are... Hang on. We're going to snooze that. Okay. So it goes, down at the Red Rose Cafe in the harbor. I know the song for sure, but I also know Red Red Rose. Okay. Best cause around. There by the port just outside Amsterdam. Everyone shares in the songs and the laughter. Everyone there, so happy to be there. The salesmen relax with a few pints of beer as they try not to speak about trade. The poet won't write any verses tonight. He may sing a sweet serenade. So pull up a chair and forget about life. It's a good thing to do now and then. And if you like it here, I have an idea. Tomorrow let's all meet again. Down at the Red Rose Cafe in the harbor, there by the port just outside Amsterdam. Everyone shares in the songs and the laughter. Everyone there is so happy to be there. So that is the Red Rose. It's a really weird tune, but I like the lyrics. The lyrics are fun. All right, let's get one more song, and then we'll carry on with more of Silverthorn. Something just killed my mood. I'll message you all when I'm a bit more free to message. I'm sorry to hear that, Matty. I hope that whatever it is, you power through it. And remember, you are strong enough to get through whatever it is. And we're here for you if you need us. Celtic Thunder performed My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose. Oh, okay. That one I think I know, but I haven't heard it in ages. Yeah, I don't even know if I remember the tune to this one either. But we'll give it a shot. No, thank you. I don't need a pair of glasses for my ADHD. I'm alright. Yeah, Red is the Rose is the Tavern favorite, as Destiny said. Is that the one you wanted to hear, Bethany? Was Red is the Rose? No, okay. Alright, the way that they sing it is very high. But I'll see if I can manage this one. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a trial. We'll see what happens. So it seems like the tune is basically, oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like a melody that sweetly play in tune. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. And I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. But fare thee well, my only love, oh, fare thee well a while. And I will come again, my love, thou wert 10,000 miles. Thou wert 10,000 miles, my love, thou wert 10,000 miles. And I will come again, my love, thou wert 10,000 miles. Yeah, I could not do it. I might be able to do it that high, but it would tear me up to try and do it that high. But I think I got it almost on tune. Probably not perfect, but close. Val, thank you for the roses, love. Appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. I have heard that one before, but it's been a long time since I've listened to it, and I don't think I've ever sung it. That was probably my first time. Alright, my friends. Lyoko, thank you for the thumbs up, kitty cat. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you're in. Let's go ahead and start with Chapter 6 of Silverthorn. What do the ASMR people do? Is that making anybody feel good when I do this? What about... Is anybody feeling relaxed? Anybody feeling the tickles in their brains? I must have heard a different version from the Hush soundtrack. Very well could have been. Yes, but just... Another heart. Another heart for the Tavern Master. Valhalla, memes, and more. There's another tie. Duncan. No tingles, but I laughed so hard I woke up my Dawson. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to... The R2-D2 sound's doing it for anybody? We don't need ASMR, thank you. I was just trying. I don't know. I was figuring maybe I'd expand my repertoire. So all right. So basically, what we're saying is I need to stick to. I just need to stick to what I'm doing, huh? I hear the lady has quit ignoring it. Yes, she was. She was quite entertained by my attempt as well. Destiny says hello. I think I owe Bear another go of Black is the Color. Yes, of course. So my landlord said he has to report me to the police because he finds my opinion on a Canada offensive and dissenting toward the government, as if me wanting to move out is a crime. Wonderful. Got to love for that.
Doesn't sound communist at all.
Doesn't sound like it. You say do ASMR? Maybe I could do some Viking ASMR. The R2D2 sounds reminded me of a joke I heard today. Why do stormtroopers use iPhones? Why? Me too, Ori, Black is the Color. We can do Black is the Color at the end. Molly Sue also says hello to Una. R2D2 is the most censored character in cinematic history. Yeah, he was just constantly swearing. I'm not calling you dummy. That's not even close to how I whistle for you. I think you're just being silly. How about you go away?
He just wants to be involved.
Just wants to be involved, as he always does. Erin is also saying hello, and so is Matty.
Hello.
So I used to, this is I'm gonna be outing myself as a weird nerd. I used to beatbox when I was younger, so I used to have really good control over my mouth and lips and tongue and all of those things. And not anymore. I'm old and out of practice. Kemians also says hello, and so does Esther. And I officially can't remember which of the 3 songs I sang in choir. I'm glad I could provide 2 new songs with the Tavern. It was wonderful of you to do so. Bethany, I appreciate you. All right, let us begin chapter 6 of Silverthorn. Reception. Jimmy tugged at his collar. Master of Ceremonies, Brian DeLacy, struck the floor with the audience hall with his staff, and the boys snapped eyes forward. Ranging from 14 to 18 years of age, the squires of Arutha's court were being instructed upon the duties they would perform during the upcoming celebrations of Anita and Arutha's wedding. The old master, a slow-speaking, impeccably attired man, said, "Squire James, if you can't remain still, we shall define something of an active duty for you, say, running messages between the palace and the outer billets." There was a barely audible groan from the visiting nobles, for the visiting nobles were forever sending inconsequential notes back and forth, and the outer billets, where many of them were housed, were about as far away as 3/4 of a mile from the palace proper. Such a duty was mainly non-stop running to and fro for 10 hours a day. Master DeLacy turned to the author of the groan and said, "Squire Paul, perhaps you would care to join Squire James?" When no answer was forthcoming, he continued, "Very well. Those of you who are expecting relatives to attend should know that all of you will be required to serve such duties in turn." With that announcement, all the boys groaned, swore, and shuffled. Again, the staff struck the wooden floor loudly. "You are not dukes, earls, and barons yet. 1 or 2 days' duty will not cause your death. There will be simply too many in the palace for servants, porters, and pages to meet every demand." Another of the new boys, Squire Locklear, the youngest son of Baron of the Land's End, said,
"Sir, which of us will be at the wedding?"
"In time, boy. In time. All of you will be escorting guests to their places in the Great Hall and in the Banquet Hall during the ceremony, and you'll all stand respectfully at the rear of the Great Hall, so you'll all get to see the wedding."
A page ran into the room and handed the master a note, and then dashed off without awaiting reply. Master DeLacy read the note and then said,
"I must make ready for the reception of the king. All of you know where you must be today. Meet me here again once the king and his highness are closeted in the council this afternoon. And anyone who is late will have an extra day running messages to the outer billets. This is all for now."
and he walked off. He could be heard to mutter,
"So much to do, so little time."
The boys began to move off, but as Jimmy started to leave, a voice from behind shouted,
"Hey, new boy!"
Jimmy turned, as did 2 others nearby, but the speaker had his eyes locked on Jimmy. Jimmy waited, knowing full well what was coming. His place in the order of squires was about to be established. When Jimmy didn't move, Locklear, who had also halted, pointed to himself and took a hesitant step forward toward the speaker. The speaker was a tall, raw-boned boy of 16 or 17 years, snapped.
"You two." "Not you, boy. I mean that fellow."
He pointed at Jimmy. The speaker wore the same brown and green uniform of the house squires, but it was of better cut than those of most of the other boys. He obviously had the funds for personal tailoring. At his belt was a jewel-hilted dagger, and his boots were so polished that they shone like bright metal. His hair was straw-colored and cut cleanly. Knowing the boy had to be the resident bully, Jimmy rolled his eyes heavenward and sighed. His uniform fit poorly, and his boots hurt, and his healing side itched constantly. He was in ill-tempered mood to begin with. Best to get this over with quickly, he thought. Jimmy walked slowly towards the older boy, who was called Jerome. He knew Jerome's father was Squire of Ludland, a town up the coast from Crondor, a minor title, but one that garnered wealth for whoever held it. When Jimmy stood before him, he said, "Yes?" With a sneer, Jerome said,
I don't like you much. I don't like much about you, fellow.
Jimmy slowly smiled, then suddenly drove his fist into Jerome's stomach. The taller boy doubled over and collapsed into the ground. He thrust for about a moment before, with a grunt, he rose.
Why?
He began, but stopped, confronted with the sight of Jimmy standing before him, a dagger in his hand. Jerome reached for his belt, for his own dagger, and found nothing. He looked down and then frantically about.
I think this is what you're missing.
Jimmy said cheerfully, holding out the dagger to reveal the jeweled hilt. Jerome's eyes widened. Jimmy tossed the dagger with a flick of his wrist, and the blade stood quivering in the floor between Jerome's boots.
And the name isn't fellow, it's Squire James, Prince of Ruth Esquire.
Jimmy quickly exited the hall, and after a few yards the boy called Locklear caught up and fell into step with him.
That was something, Squire James,
said the other new boy.
Jerome's been making it hard on all the new boys.
Jimmy stopped, in no mood for this.
That's because you let him, boy.
Locklear stepped away and began to stammer an apologetic reply. Jimmy held up his hand.
Wait a moment. I don't mean to be short with you. I have things on my mind. Look, Locklear, isn't it? My friends call me Lockie.
Jimmy studied the boy. He was a small lad, still looking more the baby than he was the man he would be. His eyes were wide and blue in the face of a deep tan. His brown hair shot through with sun gold. Jimmy knew that no more than a few weeks ago he was playing in the sand with common boys at the beach near his father's rural castle.
Lockie,
said Jimmy,
when that fool begins to trouble you, kick him where he lives. That'll sort him out quick enough. Look, I can't talk now. I've got to go and meet the king.
Jimmy walked quickly away, leaving an astonished boy standing in the hall. Jimmy fidgeted, hating the too tight collar of his new tunic. One thing Jerome had been good for was showing him he didn't have to put up with poor tailoring. As soon as he could, he slipped out of the palace for a few hours to visit 3 caches around the city. He had enough gold secreted there to tailor himself a dozen new outfits. This business of being a noble had drawbacks he hadn't imagined.
What's the matter with you, boy?
Jimmy looked up and saw the narrow gaze of a tall old man with dark grey hair. He studied Jimmy with a practiced eye, and Jimmy recognized him as Swordmaster Fannin, one of Arutha's old companions from Cryde. He'd arrived by ship on the evening tide the night before.
This deuced collar, Swordmaster, and these new boots hurt my feet as well.
Fannin nodded.
Well, one must keep up appearances, discomfort and no. Now, here comes the prince.
Arutha walked out of the great doors to the palace, to stand at the centre of the throng assembled to meet the king. Broad steps led down the parade ground. Beyond the ground, past the large iron gates, the great square of the city had been cleared of Hawker's Hall. Crondorian soldiers formed long lines along the route through the city to the palace, and behind them stood the citizens eager to catch a glimpse of their king. Liam's column had been reported approaching the city only an hour before, but the citizens had been gathered since before dawn. Wild cheering heralded the king's approach, and Liam was first to ride into view, sitting astride a large chestnut war horse, Gardan as city commander riding at his side. Behind them rode Martin, and the attending nobles from the eastern realm, the company of Liam's royal household guard, and 2 richly appointed carriages. Ruther's lancers followed, with baggage train bringing up the rear. As Liam reined in his mount before the steps, trumpets sounded flourishes. Grooms rushed to take the king's horses, while Ruther hurried down the steps to meet his brother. Tradition held that the Prince of Crondor to be second only to the king in rank, and therefore the least differential noble in the kingdom. But all protocol was forgotten as the 2 brothers embraced in greeting. The first to dismount after Liam was Martin, and in a moment all 3 stood reunited. Jimmy watched as Liam introduced his riding companions, while the 2 carriages rolled up to the steps. The doors to the first 2 carriages opened, and Jimmy craned his neck to see. A stunning young woman alighted, and Jimmy gave a silent nod of approval. From the greeting she gave Ruther, Jimmy guessed her to be Princess Carline. Jimmy stole a quick look to where Laurie stood, and saw the singer waiting with open worship on his face. Jimmy nodded to himself. Yes, that was Carline. Behind her came an old noble who Jimmy expected would be Lord Codric, Duke of Rillanon. The second carriage's door opened, and an older woman descended. Immediately after her came the familiar figure of Jimmy, and Jimmy smiled. He felt a slight flush at the sight of Princess Anita, for he had once harbored a terrible infatuation for her. The older woman would be Princess Alicia, her mother. While they were greeted by Ruther, Jimmy thought back to when Anita, Ruther, and he had all been hidden together, and the boy grinned unself-consciously. "What's gotten into you, squire?" Jimmy looked at the swordmaster Fannin again. Covering his agitation, he said, Boots, sir." Fannin said, "Well enough, boy, but you should learn to bear up under a little discomfort. I mean no disrespect to your teachers, but you're poorly prepared as squires go." Jimmy nodded, his eyes back on Anita. "New to the trade, sir. Last month I was a thief." Fannin's mouth popped open. After a moment, Jimmy took great delight in gentle elbowing him in the ribs, saying, "The king's coming." Fannin's gaze snapped forward, years of military training overwhelming any other distractions. Liam approached first, with Ruther at his side. Martin and Carline and the others followed as befitted their rank. Brian de Lacy was presenting members of Ruther's court to the king, and Liam ignored protocol several times to shake hands vigorously. Even embraced several of the people waiting to be presented. Many of the Western lords were men who had served with Liam under the command during his father during the Rift War, and he hadn't seen them since his coronation. Ulfoni seemed embarrassed when Liam placed his hand upon his shoulder and said, "Well done, Volney. You've kept the Western realms in good order since last year." These familiarities distressed several of the nobles, but the crowd loved them, cheering wildly each time Liam acted like a man greeting old friends rather than the king. When the king came up to Fannin, he caught the old fighter by the shoulder and began to bow. By the shoulder as he began to bow. "No," said Liam, softly enough that only Fannin, Jimmy, and Ruther could hear. "Not from you, my old teacher." Liam engulfed the swordmaster of Crydy in a bear hug, and then with a laugh said, "Well now, Master Fannin, how stands my home? How stands Crydy?" "Well, Majesty, she stands well." Jimmy noticed a faint moisture in the old man's eyes. Then Ruther was saying, "This young scoundrel is the newest member of my court, Majesty. May I present Squire James of Crondor?" Master de Lacy looked heavenward as Ruther usurped his office. Jimmy bowed as he had been instructed. Liam gifted the boy with a broad grin. "You I've heard of, Jimmy the Hand." he said as he took a step away. Then Liam suddenly stopped.
I best check to see if I have all my belongings.
He made a show of patting himself down while Jimmy flushed furiously. Just as he was reaching the height of embarrassment, Jimmy saw Liam cast a glance his way and wink at him. Jimmy laughed with the others. Then Jimmy turned and found himself looking into the bluest eyes he'd ever seen, as a soft, feminine voice said,
Don't let Liam upset you, Jimmy. He's always been a tease.
Jimmy began to stammer, being caught by surprise after the king's jest, then executed a ragged bow. Martin said, I'm glad to see you again, Jimmy. And he gripped his hand. We've often spoken of you and wondered if you were faring well. He presented the boy to his sister, Princess Caroline, nodded to Jimmy and said,
My brothers and Princess Anita have spoken well of you. I'm pleased to finally meet you.
And then they moved off. Jimmy stared after, overwhelmed at the remarks.
She's had that effect on me for years,
Came a voice from behind, and Jimmy turned to see Laurie hurrying to keep abreast of the royal party, as it moved towards the palace entrance. The singer touched his forehead in salute to the boy as he hurried to the crowd. Having mistaken Jimmy's astonishment at Caroline and Martin's remarks for his being thunderstruck by the princess's beauty, Jimmy returned his attention to passing nobles, and his face split into a broad grin.
Hello, Jimmy,
said Anita, now standing directly before him. Jimmy bowed.
Hello, Princess.
Anita returned Jimmy's smile and said,
My mother, my Lord Caldric, may I present my old friend, Jimmy.
And she noted his tunic.
Now a squire, I see.
Jimmy bowed again before the Princess Alicia and the Duke of Rillanon. Anita's mother presented her hand, and Jimmy awkwardly took it.
I wish to thank you, young Jimmy, since I heard how you aided my daughter,
said Alicia. Jimmy felt eyes upon him and blushed. He found within himself no hint of braggadocio that had sheltered him for most of his life. He could only stand awkwardly while Anita said,
We shall visit later.
Anita, her mother, and Caldric moved forward. Jimmy stood silently amazed. No further introductions were made as the other nobles of the kingdom passed on toward the great hall. After a short ceremony, Liam was due to be shown to his private quarters. Suddenly, the square erupted with the sound of drums and the shouts of people that pointed off to one of the major side streets to the palace. The royal party halted their entrance and waited. Then Liam and Arutha began walking back toward the top of the steps. The other nobles quickly scurrying around as all order of the procession crumbled. The king and prince moved to where Jimmy and Fannin stood, and into their view rode a full dozen mounted warriors, each wearing leopard skin over head and shoulders. Perspiration glinted on their dark skin, and these fierce-looking men pounded upon the drum on either side of their saddles, while carefully guiding their mounts with their knees. Behind came another dozen leopard skin-covered riders, each blowing on a large brass trumpet that covered his shoulders. Both drummers and trumpeters moved their horses into two lines and allowed a procession of foot soldiers to come into view. Each soldier wore a metal helm ending in a pike, with a chain neck covering and a metal cuirass. Ballooning trousers were tucked into knee-high black boots, and each carried a round shield with a metal boss, and had a long scimitar in his belt sash. Someone behind Jimmy said, "Dog soldiers." Jimmy said to Fannin, Why are they called that, Sword Master?
Because, in the ancient days of Kesh, they were treated like dogs, penned away from the rest of the people until it was time to turn them loose on someone. Now it's said, it's because they'll swarm over you like a pack of dogs if you give them a chance. They're a rough lot, boy, but we've taken their measure before.
The dog soldiers marched into the palace and opened a passage for the others to move through. They drew scimitars and saluted as the first figure came into view. He was on foot, a giant of a man, taller than the king and broader of shoulder. His ebon skin reflected the bright sunlight, for he wore only metal-studded vest above his waist. Like the soldiers, he wore the odd trousers and boots, but at his belt he wore a flasher. A curved sword, half again the size of a scimitar. His head was uncovered, and in the place of a shield he carried an ornamental staff of office. 4 men rode behind him, mounted on the small, fast horses, the desert men of Yalpur. They wore the dress of desert men, not unseen but rare in Krondor. Flowing knee-length robes of indigo silk, open in the front to reveal white tunics and trousers, and calf-high boots of horsemen and head coverings of blue cloth, wrapped on each a manner that only their eyes could be seen. Each wore a ceremonial dagger of considerable length in his waist sash, the handle and sheath exquisitely carved from ivory. As the large, dark man climbed the steps, Jimmy could hear his deep voice. Before him, the mountains tremble, the very stars pause, and in their course the sun begs his leave to rise. He is a man of the empire, and in his nostrils the 4 winds blow. He is the dragon of the valley of sun, the eagle of the peaks of tranquility, the lion of Yalpur. The speaker approached where the king stood, and Jimmy behind, and moved off to one as the 4 men dismounted and followed him up the steps. One walked before the others and was obviously the subject of the giant man's discourse. Jimmy gave Fannin a questioning look, and the swordmaster said, "Keshian court etiquette."
Kayla, hello, hello!
I officially got a hysterectomy. I lost an instant 12 pounds. I live on my bed for the next few days, but no more instant periods. I have endometriosis, so it could have been much worse if I hadn't been on birth control. Anyways, I thought I'd share this news and go to bed. Well, Kayla, I'm glad that you're feeling better, and I'm glad that you dropped in to share your news with us, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest, and make sure you take your time to heal. Alright, where was I? Liam had a sudden coughing fit and turned his head toward Jimmy behind his hand, and the boy could see the king was laughing at Fannin's remark. Regaining his composure, Liam looked forward while the Keshian master of ceremonies finished his introduction. He is the oasis of his people. And he faced the king and bowed low. Your Royal Majesty, I have the signal honor to present His Excellency Abdul Rahman Memo Hasar Khan, Bey of the Ben Sherin, Lord of the Yalpur, and Prince of the Empire, Ambassador of Great Kesh to the Kingdom of the Isles. The 4 dignitaries bowed in Keshian fashion, and the 3 behind the ambassador falling to their knees, briefly touching their foreheads to the stone floor. The ambassador placed his right hand over his heart and bowed from the waist, his left hand extended out back. As all stood erect, they perfunctorily touched index fingers to heart, lips, and forehead, a gesture indicating a generous heart, a truthful tongue, and a mind harboring no deceit. Liam said, "We welcome the Lord of Yalpur to our court." The ambassador removed his face covering, revealing a gaunt, bearded visage of advancing years, his mouth set in a half-smile. "Your Royal Majesty, Her Most Imperial Majesty, blessings upon her name, sends greetings to her brother, Isles." Dropping his voice to a whisper, he added, "I would have chosen to make a less formal entrance, Majesty, but He shrugged with a faint toss of his head towards the Keshian master of ceremonies, indicating that he had no control over such matters. This man is a tyrant. Liam grinned.
We return warm greetings to Great Kesh. May she always prosper, and her bounty increase.
The ambassador inclined his head in thanks. If it pleases your majesty, may I present my companions? Liam nodded slightly, and the Keshian indicated the leftmost man. This is my worthy signorate and advisor, Lord Kamal Mishwa Dabro Khan, Sharif of the Benitulad. And these other are my sons, Shandon and Jensuz, Sharifs and Ben Shirin, and they're also my personal bodyguards.
We are pleased that you could join us, my lords,
said Liam. As Master de Lacy attempted to restore the order to the milling nobles, another commotion broke out along a different street leading to the market square. The king and prince turned away from the master of ceremonies, and de Lacy's hand went up.
What now?
The old man said aloud, then quickly regained his nearly vanished poise. A drumming more furious than the Keshians could be heard as brightly coloured figures came into view. Prancing horses led a parade of soldiers in green, but each wore a shield of vivid hue in his arm with strange blazons depicted. Loud pipes played a polytonal melody, alien but bright and infectious in rhythm. Soon many citizens of Krondor had taken up the beat with hand clapping or impromptu dancing around the edge of the square. The first rider came before the palace, and his banner blew out the wind. Arutha laughed and slapped Liam upon the shoulder.
It's Vandros of Yabon, Kasumi's Surani garrison from Lamut.
Then marching foot soldiers came into view, and they could be heard singing loudly. When the Surani garrison of Lamut had come to stand before the Keshians, they halted. Martin observed,
Look at them eyeing one another like tomcats. I'd warrant each side would laugh an excuse to test the other.
Not in my city, said Arutha, obviously not finding the notion amusing. Liam laughed.
Well, it would be a show. Ho, Vandros!
The Duke of Yabon rode up and dismounted. He hurried up the stairs and bowed.
Beg forgiveness for being tardy, Majesty. We were inconvenienced on the road. We chanced upon a band of goblins raiding south of Zun.
How many in the band?
Asked Liam.
No more than 200.
Arutha said,
Inconvenienced, he calls it. Vandros, you've been with the Surani for too long.
Liam laughed.
Where is Earl Kasumi?
He comes now, Majesty.
Carriages could be seen entering the square as he spoke. Arutha took aside the Duke of Yabon and said,
Tell your men to billet the city garrison, Vandros. I want them close. When you have them bedded down, come to my quarters, and bring along Brukul and Kasumi.
Vandros caught the serious tone, and said,
As soon as the men are billeted, Highness.
I'm losing track of voices now. We have so many people. I'm losing track of who's who. So if I accidentally mix up voices, I apologize. Rachel, I don't know if I said hello, but hello. It's good to see you. I'd even go so far as to say set certain things to only me visible, but I'm paranoid, so take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, with how some I'm not gonna point any fingers, but with how some areas are handling social media, it's best just not to say anything online at all, Matty, because there are some places where just for saying it online, you can get arrested, and you can get in a lot of trouble. So, regardless of what your stance is, it's just better not to say political things online if you don't live in a place where you're sure you won't be in trouble for it. That's all I'll say on the matter. Heading to sleep. It's after midnight in VA. Have a great night, Castle, everyone. Val, thank you so much for being here, loves. Always wonderful to see you. Thank you for the roses. Papa Bear, Jakey, hello and welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Settle in, fill your drink, fill your seat. We still got a little bit of story time left. We've got about 7 pages left. Stormy, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Papa Bear, thank you for the flowers. The roses are appreciated. I hope Tomas makes an appearance, unless I missed his route. You have not missed Tomas's appearance. I don't know if he is in this book, but he might be. How are Coda and Boo? I think that they're both good. Boo, I think, is potatoing somewhere.
He's a rock.
Yeah.
Now.
He's sleeping, and the dog, I think, is laying with Mom. Yeah?
No.
No? He's probably in the hallway cooling off there.
No, he's in my doorway.
Oh, there he is. Heard himself being talked about. Yeah, we can have a hello from Doggo real quick. You wanna come say hi? Come say hello. Up up. Up up. Come on, up up. Come on, up up. There you go. Come say hi to everybody. Papa Bear, thank you for the heartbeat in the whatever the heck that is. The mouth. Thank you kindly. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Thank you, my friend. Well, don't delete anything, Matty, because if you delete stuff, then that suggests guilt. Just make your stuff private. That's all I'll say. Don't delete anything, because if you delete stuff, then that makes it look like you're admitting you did something wrong. But I would private your account just so that anybody who might want to do something can't easily access the information. Because unless you did something that's blatantly illegal, you don't need to hide it. But if you do hide it, then it makes you look guilty. So just private the things. And I did that with my Facebook a while back because people kept going out and finding me, then finding my family, and trying to start grievances over all manner of things. Yeah, and just don't post anything else. If it's anything that has anything to do with socio-economic or social or political things anywhere in the world, just don't post about it, because there are way too many countries now that are using that as an excuse to lock people up. So just don't take the risk. Papa Bear, thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. Yay, Tavern Wolf. Yeah, he was sick the last couple of days though.
The dog?
Yeah, don't you remember? He was.
Diarrhea isn't really sick.
What do you think that means?
Diarrhea?
Yeah, if you have diarrhea or you're puking, that means you're sick.
Diarrhea is a sign of being sick?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, though.
There's no way you didn't know that.
I didn't.
That's insane. Yeah, it's best not to. I don't even share news articles anymore because there's just too much that can go wrong too easily. In the world we live in, it's too chaotic, and this is another reason why we don't talk about politics and social issues on stream. One, because people can't stay level-headed about it, if that's a concept, but people can't be mature about those discussions. But two, there's also all kinds of drama and stuff that happens around it, which is why I just leave it out of the storytelling. Now, in this instance, obviously, I'm talking about something like that because I want to make sure that you understand the point of it, but we're not going to go deep into those things. We're just providing advice. Mateus, hello, my friend. Knowledge time in the tavern. I do my best. I do my best. Thank you for the corn, brother. I appreciate you. The Corn King has come in and dropped off some corn. I appreciate you. The Corn King has arrived. I maintain a strict policy of privacy and do not share any personal... That's true. Our mind's private too. Yeah, in this day and age, it's best. Because people, even if you share something that is completely innocuous, people will try to take that innocuous thing and turn it into something. So it's best just to not. It's best just to I mostly share random stuff, but I'm impulsive too. But yeah, I scour my profile. Did it freeze? It did freeze. Hang on. I'll get it sorted. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I'm so bright now. Okay, so it did reset, but let me see if I can adjust the brightness now. I'm shining like the sun over here. Okay, that's alright. Alright, let's continue story time. Yeah, my whole face was blown out there for a minute. Was that your saint form, Castle? It could have been. It could have been. Sorry, by the way, I'm not trying to make things political. The situation... No, and you're perfectly fine, Maddie. Again, I don't mind answering questions or talking about these things in briefities, because it is important, and in this instance, it is something that's important for you to make sure that you get taken care of, because we don't want you to be at risk. And again, I don't necessarily mind talking about these things if people have questions. Oops. Well, hang on. Something is updating on the computer. Good night, all lovely people. It sounds corny, but I'm out. Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Mateus. I appreciate you. Thank you for dropping the corn. My Lord King of the corn. And I don't ever want you guys to feel like you can't ask me questions about things. And if it's something that I feel will be too much for story time, I'll tell you, I'll message you about it later. But yeah, just in general these days, it's best if you don't... Unless you're sure that it's never going to be... If you're not sure about a thing, just don't share it on social media. Because people will go back in time... just as an instance, there was a guy on Twitter who was making a fair point, who used to have a MySpace page, and he shared lyrics from an NWA song on his MySpace page way back in the day. Somebody went and found that post that this guy posted on his MySpace page, brought it up as a way of saying that nothing that he said mattered, because he shared lyrics from a song that, as I'm sure you're all aware, had words in it that we don't say, and that generally people don't say. Thank you for the corn, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. Okay, we good? Everything's making noise. Yeah, it's an important conversation to have in regards to your safety, and we want to make sure that you are being well cared for in all of that. Did you bring the cat over here so that he could...
So angry.
Come here.
So angry.
Don't you... Why are you being a brat? Why are you being a brat? Now you have to work because you're being a brat.
Alright, do you have a photo you want me to use?
Look at the kitty cat. He was being a brat. He didn't want to come and work.
You have a photo you want me to use already on your phone, or do you want me to just pick one that I have?
You have all the good photos look at.
Yeah, again, for anybody who's never met him, this is Boo. He's the boy and the lady's cat. And
yours.
yeah, I suppose he's mine too by osmosis. He's named Boo because he was found in a graveyard. And with his dead siblings, he's never pleased. Like, he loves to be held. Like, he will snuggle the heck out of you if it's his choice. But if he's forced into it, he acts like he's being victimized. Like, you would think that he was a millennial on the internet with how he acts when you pick him up. I say that as being a millennial on the internet, but... Okay, alright, you're free to go. Get out of here. I feel from time to time we can have adult conversations about certain topics from time to time. We're not hooligans all the time. True. I'd assume that it would be much stronger because it would be double enforced, but I could be thinking wrong about it. Speaking your mind feels right as you should be. There's too much BS in the world. You just want to leave what has been bad for you, and that's it. You found your home, and she's somewhere else, and that just needs to get you there. Yeah, well, and there are... You also have to understand the economics of it. There are a lot of countries right now that are in bad straits, that people are leaving because their governments are not thinking about them. And there are people who are absolute loyalists who are getting upset that those people are leaving because things are not good in those countries. And it's a tough situation to be in because you're going to have people on both sides, and I understand why people are getting that way, but at the same time, the whole thing is just, it's not a good situation on any end of it. So he always acts like he's being held against, because he's 100% being held against his will. Ashley, if it were up to him, he would never be held by anything except for his own will. That's all right, Tyson. Don't worry about it. Right. Well, and that's the thing, is like there are some people who are leaving from some areas because they feel like they're being mistreated, and there are some people who are loyalists and they love their country and they want to stay. And you can't fault people on either side of that. But there are some people who will, and it's just that is what we talk about. And why we don't talk about these things, why we don't talk about these social and political things during story time, because some people cannot be mature about other people being allowed to make their own decisions, and about people thinking differently than them. Milu obviously is much more mature, and most of you in here are going to be much more mature than most people are, and that's why we're able to sometimes have these conversations when need be. But there are a lot of people who can't emotionally regulate that, and they'll feel like anytime you disagree with them, that's a personal affront. So and that's why we don't talk about these things often and openly, because it can turn into a real problem. Tim, hello my friend, good to see you. Good afternoon, good evening. All right. Let's get back into the story, guys. The carriages from Yabon were halted before the stairs, and Lord Brukul, Duchess Felina, Countess Megan, and their ladies-in-waiting got out. Earl Kasumi, formerly a force commander of the Surani army during the Rift War, dismounted his horse and walked quickly up the stairs. He bowed before Liam and Arutha. Vandross quickly presented his party, and Liam said, Unless that pirate, the King of Quig, is going to arrive in a war galley pulled by 1,000 little seahorses, we shall retire. With a laugh, he swept past the near-distraught Master of Ceremonies de Lacy, who was vainly trying to restore order to the King's procession. Jimmy hung back for a while. He had seen an occasional Keshian merchant. He'd never seen a dog soldier or a Surani. For all his worldly ways, outside of the usual matters of the city and its life, he was still a 15-year-old boy. Kasumi's under-commander was giving orders for the billeting of his men, and the Keshian captain was doing the same. Jimmy sat quietly on the stairs, wiggling his toes to stretch his boots. He stared at the colorful Keshians for a few minutes, then watched the Surani as they mustered to depart the square. Both were certainly exotic, and if Jimmy could judge, both looked equally fierce. Jimmy was about to leave when something strange behind the Keshians caught his eye. He tried to decide what it was, but couldn't. Some odd itch made him walk down the stairs until he was near the Keshians, all still at parade rest. Then he saw what had caused him to feel something was out of the ordinary. Retreating into the crowd behind the Keshians was a man Jimmy had thought was to be dead. Jimmy was rocked to see to the soul of his being unable to move. He had seen Laughing Jack vanish into the press. So the guy who tried to kill Jimmy on the docks just a little bit ago is now, Jimmy just saw him in the courtyard. The Liam said squeak, yeah, the lady just hiccuping in the background. Thanks, by the way, everyone. Of course, Matty, of course. I will always provide the moral and intellectual support that I can and advice whenever I can for any of you who want it. I mean, I have the rare opportunity of having been able to travel quite a bit when I was younger and being introduced to world politics and trade and things at a young age. So it's hard sometimes to look at these things from a more practical viewpoint and from a level-headed viewpoint, because usually when these things come up, it's very easy for us to get emotional about it. I hate political discussion when it comes to religious discussions. If it's someone asking about a certain religion, I'll participate as long as doing it doesn't get immature, and I agree. For whatever my opinion might be worth, you did nothing wrong. And I'll agree. If criticizing anything is wrong, then the thing that is being criticized is what is wrong. That is my opinion, and that is my point of view. Well, look at that. Myko Psycho is coming to arms. Sound the Viking raspberries. Let's give a little toot on the raid horn for our buddy Myko. Myko, welcome in. I'm so very glad you could join us. Fill your glass, fill your seat. Actually, if you have to run off, you can, but let me give you raspberries before you go. When they were on the docks earlier, because it was a very brief moment where Laughing Jack had convinced Jimmy to go down to the docks, and then two Nighthawks and Laughing Jack tried to kill Jimmy, and then Jimmy managed to kill one of them and then get away. We're allowed to have a difference of opinion and still remain friends. I agree. And a lot of people like to be very immature about things like that and take it to extremes, but I am of the mind that there's nothing you can't talk about with a mature and level-headed human being. There's nothing that you can't discuss with somebody who is willing to just discuss. No, not in this chapter, Bethany. It was, I think the second chapter in. It was just after Jimmy had been attacked by the Nighthawk on the roof. Just after that, Laughing Jack had told him that he needed to go down and rob the docks because all of the wedding presents would be there. I'll have to dip out before too long. That's all right. We're almost done, love. And I think we have 6 or 7 pages left, if that. So I will stop rambling and I'll get back into it. But yeah, we got just over 7 pages left. Molly Sue says we need Viking raspberry shirts. Lovey?
Yeah.
Molly Sue says we need Viking raspberry shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what design am I gonna do?
You could just do a cartoon Viking blowing a raspberry. She says please with a W.
Thing to wear, but I don't want it.
Or just the horn, says Destiny. I completely agree. Discourse is civil by its nature. It's when you take into physicality that it becomes uncivil. Yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to discuss anything with anybody, right? If you are a mature and level-headed individual, and obviously you're going to get some people who will say things just to upset you, and that's never okay. But the lady has already said that because we get too many people who already call our reading club a cult, she's not going to do anything that has hail on it. So no worshipping of the chair shots. The horn with raspberries coming out of it, wearing a Viking hat, says Destiny.
What? I mean, maybe I could have text saying Viking raspberries coming out of the horn.
Certainly, please continue reading. We're thoroughly enjoying the narrative. Yes, let's get back into it. Where was I? Arutha paced around the council table. Around his council table sat Lori, Brukel, Vandross, and Kasumi. Arutha had finished recounting of the assault upon the Nighthawks and held out a message. This is from Baron Highcastle, in response to my query. He says there is some unusual movement northward in this area. Arutha put down the paper. He goes on to give a number of sightings where... and the rest.
Highness, said Vandross. We've had some movement in our region, but nothing of great note. In Yabon, clever dark brothers and goblins can avoid the garrisons by turning westward once they are past the northern limits of the elven forests. By scouting the west of the lake of the sky, they avoid our patrols. We send few companies out to that sector. The elves and the dwarves of the Stone Mountain keep that area quiet. So we'd like to think,
snorted Brukel. The old former Duke of Yabon had resigned his office in favor of Vandross when the latter married Brukel's daughter. But he was still a fine military mind and had been battling the Mordrell all his life.
Now, if they go in small bands, the Brotherhood can come and go almost at will through smaller passes. We've few enough men to keep the trading routes clear, and a hell of a lot more ground to cover than that. All they must do is move at night and stay clear of the Haddadi clan villages and the major roads. Let's not delude ourselves by thinking otherwise.
Arutha smiled. That's why I wanted you here. Kasumi said, Highness, perhaps it is, as Lord Brukel states, we've had little contact with them in recent times. They may have tired of our steel and now move in small stealthy bands. Lori shrugged. Yabon, born and raised, the singer from Tirsorg, knew as much about the Mordrell as any in the room. It is important to consider that we have all these strange reports going on in the north at a time when Mordrell hands can be seen involved in attempts to kill Arutha. I would be less troubled, said Arutha, if I knew that crushing them in Krondor would prove sufficient. Until we uncovered the mystery of who is behind all this, I think we are not through with the Nighthawks. They may take months to reform and be a menace, but I think they'll return. And as I sit here, I am certain that there is some connection between the Nighthawks and what's occurring in the north. A knock at the door preceded Gardan's entrance. I've searched everywhere, Highness, and I can find no sign of Squire James. Oh, this Gardan. I've searched everywhere, Highness, and I can find no sign of Squire James. Lottie said, last I saw him, he was standing upon the steps next to Swordmaster Fannin, while the Serrani were making their entrance. Gardan said, he was sitting on top of the steps after I dismissed the troops. From the high window, a voice said, and now he's sitting above you. All eyes turned to see the boy sitting in the high arched window overlooking Arutha's chamber. Before anyone could speak, he nimbly leapt down. Arutha's expression showed a mixed disbelief and amusement. When you asked to explore the roofs, I thought you would be needing ladders and help. Jimmy's matter was serious. I saw little sense in waiting, Highness. Besides, what sort of thief needs ladders or help to climb walls? He came up to Arutha.
This place is a warren of nooks and niches a man could secret himself in. But first, he must get into the grounds, said Gardon. Jimmy gave the captain a look indicating that the feat presented no difficulty, and Gardon lapsed into silence. Laurie picked up the dropped thread of conversation. Well, while we don't know what's behind the Nighthawks, at least they've been destroyed here in Crondor. So I thought myself, said Jimmy, looking about the room. But this afternoon, as the crowd began to break up, I saw an old friend in the square, Laughing Jack. Arutha looked hard at Jimmy. It was my understanding you left that traitor to the mockers, dead. As dead as any man with a 6-inch hole in his chest from a steel bolt is likely to be. It's difficult getting out and about with half your lungs missing. But after what we saw at the whorehouse, if my own dear mum came to tuck me in bed tonight, I wouldn't be surprised. Jimmy spoke in a distracted fashion as he prowled around the room. With a slight theatrical show, he said, "Aha!" and pressed down on something behind the decorative shield on the wall. With a groan, a section of wall 2 feet wide and 3 feet high swung open. Arutha went over to the opening and peered in. "What's this?" he asked Jimmy. "One of the many secret passages to the palace. Back when we were hiding out together, Highness, I remember Princess Anita talking of how she fled the palace with the aid of a servant girl. She once mentioned taking a passage, and I thought nothing of it until today." Brukel looked about the room.
This may have been a part of the original keep, or one of the first editions. Back home, with a bolt hole out of the keep to the woods. I don't know of a keep that doesn't.
He looked thoughtful.
There may be more such passages.
Jimmy smiled. "A dozen or more. You walk around the roof a little, and you see some very wide walls, odd bends in passages," Arutha said. "Gardan, I want every foot of these passages mapped. Take a dozen men and uncover where this one leads, and where else it may empty. And see if the royal architect has any clue if any of these passages are shown in the old plans." Gadon saluted and left. Vandross appeared deeply troubled.
Arutha, in all this I have had little time to adjust to thoughts of assassins and dark brothers secretly working with them.
That's why I wanted to talk before the festivities get underway. Arutha sat down. The palace is overrun with strangers. Every noble in attendance will have a dozen of his people in his retinue. Kasumi, I want your Surani in every key location. They would be impossible to infiltrate and are above reproach. Coordinate with Gardan, and if needs be, we'll have only Surani, men I know from Cryde, and my personal guards inside the central palace. To Jimmy he said, "By rights, I have you strapped for this little escapade. I should have you strapped for this little escapade." Jimmy stiffened until he saw Arutha's smile. "But I warrant anyone who tried would end up with a dagger in his ribs to show for his effort. I heard of your confrontation with Squire Jerome. But that snot thinks himself boss cocky at a yard. Well, his father's very upset, and while he's not a very important member of my vassalage, he is certainly very loud. Look, you leave Jerome to play head rooster all he wants. From now on, you stay close to me, and I'll tell Master de Lacy you're relieved of further duty until I say otherwise. But keep your prowling under control until I tell Gardan and myself you're going up on the roof. One of my more excitable guards might put an arrow into you before he recognized you. Things have been somewhat tense around here of late, in case you failed to notice. Jimmy ignored the sarcasm. The fellow would have deceived me first, Highness. Bruco slapped the table.
Got a tongue in your head? That one?
He said with a guffaw and an approving nod. Arutha smiled as well. He found it difficult to stay out of sorts with the young rogue. Enough. With receptions and banquets for the next week. Perhaps our concerns are for naught, and the Nighthawks are no more. Lottie said, Let us hope. Without further discussion, Arutha and his guest dispersed to their rooms. Okay, now we are changing scene, friends.
Jimmy!
Jimmy turned and saw Princess Anita coming down the corridor in his direction, accompanied by 2 of Gardan's guards and 2 ladies in waiting. When she caught up with him, she bowed and she presented her hand, and he kissed it lightly, as he had been shown by Lottie.
What a young courtier you've become,
She observed as they resumed walking. It seems fate has taken an interest in me, Princess. I've never had ambitions of becoming a power in the Mockers. Perhaps even the next upright man, but now I find my life has a much more broad horizons. She smiled while her ladies whispered behind their hands. Jimmy hadn't seen the princess since her arrival the previous day, and felt again the faint tugging at his insides he had known the year before. He had put his boyhood infatuation behind, but still liked her very much.
Have you developed ambitions then, Jimmy the Hand?
In feigned scolding tones, he said, Squire James at Crondor, Your Highness. And they started to laugh. Look then, Princess. This is a time of change in the kingdom. The long war with the Surani robbed us of quite a few men with titles. Earl Volney is acting part of Chancellor, and there are no dukes yet in Salador or Bastira. 3 dukedoms without masters. It seems possible for a man of wit and talent to rise high in such an environment.
Have you a plan?
Anita asked, her delight at the boy's impudence showing in her bright green eyes and her smile. Not yet. Not fully, at least. But I can at least see possibilities of someday a title beyond Squire, perhaps even Duke of Crondor.
First advisor to the Prince of Crondor,
Anita said in mock astonishment. Jimmy winked. I am well connected. I'm a close personal friend of his betrothed. And they both laughed. Anita touched his arm.
It'd be good to have you with us. I'm pleased Arutha found you so quickly. He didn't think it would be easy to locate you.
Jimmy faltered a half step. It had never occurred to him that Arutha wouldn't tell Anita of the assassins, but now he realized he hadn't. Of course, Jimmy thought to himself, he would needlessly throw a pole over the wedding. Quickly he recovered his poise. It was more an accident than anything. His Highness never said anything about looking for me.
You'll not know how Arutha and I worried about you all the time after we left Crondor. Last we saw you, you were fleeing the docks from Guy's men. We had no word of you. We passed through Crondor so quickly on our way to Liam's coronation. We had no way of discovering what had happened to you. Liam sent warrants pardoning Trevor Hull and his men, and giving him a commission for helping us. But no one knew what became of Jimmy. I didn't think he would make you a squire just yet, but I knew he had plans for you.
Jimmy felt genuinely moved. This revelation added double meaning to Arutha's remark before. He liked to think they were already friends. Anita halted their walk, indicating a door.
I am to stand for a fitting. My wedding gown arrived from Relenon this morning.
She leaned over and kissed him lightly upon his cheek.
Now I must go.
Jimmy fought down the strange, frighteningly strong emotions. Honest, I'm also glad to be here. We shall have a grand time. She laughed and passed through the door with her ladies. The guards taking a position outside, Jimmy waited until the door was closed, then walked away whistling a light tune. He reflected upon the last few weeks of his life and judged himself happy, despite assassins and tight boots. Rounding a corner into a less frequent hallway, Jimmy halted. His dagger was instantly in his hand as he stood regarding a pair of gleaming pair of eyes in half shadows before him. Then, a snuffling sound, the owner of those nearly glowing red eyes ambled out. Covered in green scales, the creature bulked about the size of a small hound. His head resembled an alligator's, with a rounded snout and large wings were folded back across his eyes. A long, sinuous neck allowed the creature to look backwards past an equally long tail, as the young voice shouted from behind.
Fantas!
A small boy, no more than 6 years old, came dashing forward to throw his arm around the creature's neck. He looked up at Ginny's serious dark eyes and said,
He won't hurt you.
Jimmy suddenly felt awkward holding his dagger and quickly put it away. The creature was obviously a pet, albeit an unusual sort.
What did you call it? Him? Fantas. He's my friend and he's very smart. He knows a lot of things.
I guess he does, agreed Jimmy, still uncomfortable under the creature's gaze. What is he? The boy looked at Jimmy as if he were a living incarnation of ignorance, but said,
Fire Drake. We just got him here and he followed. We just got here and he followed from home. He can fly, you know.
Jimmy nodded.
We have to get back. Mum will be angry if we're not in our room.
Pulling the creature around, the boy led him away without another word. So, we are going to see Pug, because Fantas would have come with Pug, and I think that was William, Pug's son. So, for sure, Pug's wife and their son are there. I forgot they'll fry the breathing chickens in this story. So for sure we're going to see Pug, at least it seems that way. And we might also, Coolgan, we might also see Coolgan. Because we don't know how far they are into building the University of Magic. The Hogwarts of this world, if you will. We wait long enough, we might get Harry Potter in the Magician world. Jimmy didn't move for a full minute, then looked around as if seeking someone to validate the vision he had witnessed. Shrugging off his astonishment, the boy thief continued walking along. After a little while, he could hear the sound of a lute strings being plucked. Jimmy left the hallway and entered a large garden where Lottie was tuning his lute. The boy sat upon the edge of a planter, crossing his feet under him, and said, For a minstrel, you're a sorry sight. I'm a sorry sort of minstrel. Lottie did look less than his usual spirited self. He fiddled with his lute and began a solemn tune. After a few minutes, Jimmy said, Enough of this dirge, singer. This is supposed to be a time of cheer. What's gotten you so long in the face? Lottie sighed, his head cocked to one side. You're a bit young to understand. Ha! Try me, interrupted Jimmy. Lottie put up his lute. It's Princess Carline. Still wants to marry you, huh? Lottie's jaw dropped. How? If we haven't seen Coolgan yet, who is the older guy that's been with these guys? So there are a bunch of... so we had Vandross and... I can't remember, Baldric, who were the previous dukes of the domain outside of Krondor. But we haven't seen Coolgan yet,
and we haven't seen Pug yet, because Colgan and Pug were supposed to go and start the magic university. Almost as bad as Vorpal bunnies. Yeah, Baldric was the father whose daughter married the new Duke of. I can't remember what the other place is, but he's the new Duke. So Baldric is the one the older gentleman who we've been hearing, and Gordon. So there's Gordon, Baldric, and Fannin, Swordmaster Fannin. Okay, where was I? Jimmy laughed. You've been around nobles too long, Singer. I'm new to all this, but I still know how to talk to servants. More important, I know how to listen. Those maids from Rillinon would have fit to bust to tell maids here all about you and Princess Caroline. You're quite an item. Laurie seemed unamused by Jimmy's mirth. I suppose you've heard the whole tale? Jimmy took on an indifferent manner. The princess is a prize. But I grew up in a whorehouse, so my views on women are less idealised. As he thought of Anita, his voice dropped off a little. Still, I must admit, princesses seem different from the rest. Nice that you've noticed, Laurie commented dryly. Well, I'll say this. Your princess is the finest looking woman I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them, including your better paid courtesans, and some of them are pretty special. Most men I know would sell their darling mothers to get her attention. So then what's your problem? Laurie looked at the boy for a minute.
My problem is this business of being a noble.
Jimmy laughed a genuine sound of amusement.
What problem? You just get to order people around and blame your mistakes on someone else.
Laurie laughed.
I doubt Arutha and Liam would agree. Well, kings and princesses are a different sort, but most of the nobles around here show me nothing. Old Volney has some wits, but he's not too anxious to be here anyway. The rest just want to be important. Hell, musician, you should marry her. You might improve the breed.
Laurie swung playfully at Jimmy, laughing as the brash youngster easily ducked away, also laughing. A third laughed, caused Laurie to turn. A short, slender, dark-haired man came in fine clothes, of simple cut, stood observing the proceedings.
Pug!
Laurie exclaimed, jumping up to embrace the man.
When did you arrive? About an hour ago. I've had a brief meeting with Arutha and the king. They were off with Herr Volney now, discussing preparations for tonight, for tonight's welcoming banquet. But Arutha hinted that there was something strange going on, and suggested I look for you.
Laurie indicated Pug should take a seat, and he sat beside Jimmy. Laurie made the introduction, and then said,
I have much to tell, but first, how are Katala and the boy? Fine. She's in our suite now, gossiping with Caroline.
Laurie looked depressed at the mention of the princess.
And William ran off with Fantis. Somewhere after Fantis. That thing is yours? Exclaimed Jimmy. Fantis, Pug laughed. You've seen him then? No, Fantis belongs to no one. He comes and goes as he pleases. Which is why he's here without anyone's leave, Laurie said. I doubt he's on De Lacy's guest list. Look, I'd best catch you up on the matters of importance, Pug.
Pug glanced at Jimmy, and Laurie said,
This fountain trouble here has been the centre of things since the first. You hear nothing he doesn't already know.
Laurie told him of what happened, with Jimmy adding a few bits of information the singer missed. When they were done, Pug said,
Business of necromancy is an evil thing. If nothing is done, if nothing else you said speaks of dark powers at work, that does. This is more province of priests than magicians, but Colgan and I will aid in whatever we can. And Colgan came from Stardark as well. There would have been no stopping him. Arutha was his student, remember? Besides, though he had never admitted, I think he misses his arguments with Father Tully. And there was no doubt Tully would officiate at Arutha's wedding. I think that's where Colgan is now, arguing with Tully. Laurie said, I've not seen Tully. But he was due to arrive this morning, with those from Relenon travelling at a more sedated pace than the King's party. At his age, he tends to prefer things quiet. He must pass 80 now. Closer to 90, but he hasn't lost a step. You should hear him around the palace of Relenon. Let a squire or page fail his lesson, and he'll talk blisters at the boy's back. Pug laughed. Then, as an afterthought, he said, Laurie, how fare things with you and Carline?
Laurie groaned, and Jimmy hid a chuckle.
That is what we were speaking of when you appeared. Good, bad, I don't know.
Sympathy showed on Pug's dark eyes.
I know the feeling, friend. When we were children, back in Crawley. Just remember, you were the one who held to me my promise to introduce you if we ever returned to Midcamia from Calawan.
He shook his head with a laugh and nodded.
It's good to know some things never change.
Jimmy leapt off the bench.
Well, I must be off. Pleased to make your acquaintance, magician. Cheer up, singer. You'll either marry a princess or you won't.
He dashed off, leaving Laurie struggling with the logic of that statement while Pug laughed aloud. We just need Tomas. Yep, the whole crew is there from the old book. Oh, I didn't realise that we got a follow. Quaggo Live has followed. Quaggo, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I'm sure you came in with Michael, and if you're still here, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight we were reading from Silverthorn by Raymond E. Feist. But now we are going to do our farewell songs, my friends. So, let's see, Esther had said she would wait till the end to request. So let's get a couple of songs requested so that we can head off with some song. I know it's so sad already. We were already 3 hours done. It's insanity. How quickly and how slowly these things go. Tyson and Petra at nearly the same time call for Valhalla Calling. Valhalla Calling, my mother told me, in Misty Mountains. In my head, I want the book title to be Magician Silverthorn. That would make sense, right, since he did the first two. But I guess since Pug isn't going to be the center focus, and the center character is Arutha in this one, I guess that makes sense. Did I hear Esther? Yes, you did. Alright, so we'll do Valhalla Calling, we'll do My Mother Told Me, and we will do Misty Mountain to end up tonight, my friends. So real quick, before we start songs, I'm going to put you all on ads. I'm going to hop up real quick. I'm going to use the bathroom, and then I will be back. We're gonna let our friends over on Twitch get their ads so that they don't get interrupted during songs, and then I will be right back. So give me just a moment, friends. Good night, Frost. Rest well, and good night to anyone else. Oh no, we'll do black as the color as well. We'll do black as the color. So here's what we'll do. We're gonna do Valhalla Calling. We'll get that one out of the way first. My mother told me black is the color, and then Misty Mountains we'll finish up on. Let us all say goodnight to our head barmaid, Captain Hoodie, and to our barman, Frostbeard, who's also heading off.
Good night.
Rest well, my friends, and may you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day. Thank you for tending to our patrons whilst we read. It is deeply appreciated. But I got Viking raspberries in the guild. Did you? All right. Let's go ahead. All right. Now, if you have never heard Valhalla Calling before, it is a very popular song. It was popularized on TikTok some time ago, and it is by the Miracle of Sound. And the song itself is, it's basically a Viking song. It's meant to sound like an old Viking sort of rowing song. And it was very popular. Now, we do it a little bit different than most do, because we'll sing the verses normally. We sing them just like they would be sung normally. And if anyone is new here, it is important to remember the rule. We don't sing well. We sing because we enjoy it. But then when we get to the verses, when we get through the verses and we get to the chorus, we sing it using what is referred to as druid song or throat singing. Now, throat singing, some people enjoy it, some people dislike it, some people find it grating, and it's not for everybody. But it has been known to cause bleeding of the ears, rupturing of the vessels in the eyes. It's been known to cause spontaneous blindness. It's been known to disrupt the nervous system, the lymphatic system, as well as the vascular system, and also to cause spontaneous pregnancy. So if you have any of these symptoms after hearing this disclaimer, the tavern is not held responsible and will not take responsibility for any of these symptoms. You have been warned. Petra Master Castle, would you like it if I got the recipe for the applesauce cake? Absolutely. Put it in the kitchen in the guild. I would love to have it. I'm always looking to add... Mattie's pregnant already, but the tavern we don't take responsibility for children conceived. What is the word? Miraculously conceived children as a result of song. Esther says, "Castle, I find the throat singing to be quite enjoyable." I'm glad, Esther. It is good fun. All right, so let us begin. We will not be held liable. Absolutely not. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjord. Immaculate conception. Thank you, Molly Sue. I appreciate you. Far from the fjords in the ice cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers. Songs and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, pulled together for the clan and kin. Clank of hammers and the crash of thunder, pound within. Like it is if you need to. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. There are times, Castle, I feel I need to call you out on this. Sometimes you are less than truthful, you can sing well. I appreciate the compliment, Bear. But I keep myself covered for my bad days when I don't sing well. So if I tell people I sing poorly and then it's pretty good, then people are pleasantly surprised. But if I say I sing well and then I sing the way that I do, and people are like, nah, it was okay. It's managing people's expectations. Lyoko, thank you for the lightning bolts. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. We scream on a melody exactly, Matty. Sails are swaying on the crimson rivers, blood and glory in the fighting fields. Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel. Fires are rising and the bells are ringing. Glory, take us into Odin's halls. Golden glimmer and the sound of singing as God's call. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla. Bless you, my love. Calling me. Thank you for the song, my friends. Always lovely to sing with you. Now let us carry on immediately to My Mother Told Me, since we're in a Viking mood. Oh, we got raided. Hello, my friends. Welcome. Now we got to do some Viking raspberries here. You guys came in just in time for songs at the end of story time. Cabo, thank you for the raid. Welcome in. Let's get you some Viking raspberries. Welcome in, Cabo. What were you and the Cabo crew up to this fine evening? Also, have you been in before? And if not, welcome. I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight we were reading from Silverthorn. Falling asleep out of nowhere. Good night, everyone. Good night, Milo. Rest well. I hope you rise tomorrow feeling better, and then I hope that your dreams will be sweet, and that your waking will be wonderful. We were reading Ursula K. Le Guin's Changing Planes. Interesting. Well, we're very glad to have you. We typically read mostly fantasy and science fiction here, but occasionally I will share some of my, well, I will flatter myself, my infinite knowledge of lore, myth, and history. Viking raspberries, ching! Yeah. Well, thank you for the raid. It's wonderful to have you. If you have to run, raid and run, I completely understand. We're usually tired after our story times as well. So, thank you kindly. And if you would like to settle in for songs, we're going to be doing 3 more songs before we head off, and we all sing together. But any which way, thank you for bringing in your community to the tavern. Still a little bit of time before last call, so fill your glass, fill a seat, and join us for some songs. And sometimes we get him into castle rants about pineapple on pizza. Yes, they do. Castle, do you like the name Emir Hadrada? I'm curious if it rings nicely. I I'll message you about it, Matty. It's all right, but there's a lot of conflicting sounds in the way that flows that you wouldn't typically find in Scandinavian name flows. But I'll message you about it. Actually, message me about it so I don't forget. Did you have a comment go missed, Tyson? Viking raspberries, I saw that one. My next tattoo is going to be Hugin and Moonin on my left shoulder and bicep. I can't wait. Should be quite the art piece. Is ketchup on macaroni and cheese controversial? It should be. I don't know if it is, but it should be. I suppose I can see how how you might like the flavor, but those are two pretty extreme flavor separations. So I could see maybe why, but that's a pretty extreme flavor difference. But it's delicious. Is it delicious? See, this is one of those weird things, right? Like my brother eats yellow mustard on pizza, and it actually does taste good. I just want a character named after a Mir plus a famous Viking. What about applesauce on mac and cheese? That sounds very. That's again, because ketchup is like sweet and sour, right? Because it's vinegar and sugar with a little bit of savory. Cheese is salty and savory, but then applesauce is just very sweet. You guys have interesting mac and cheese recipes. Pineapple on pizza pops? No, I'm good. I was gonna say applesauce on mac and cheese. Like ketchup on mac and cheese sounds strange to me. Applesauce on mac and cheese sounds terrible. Is this something that you regularly eat? Because I don't want to insult it if you enjoy it. It sounds awful, but if it's something you enjoy, I'm glad you enjoy it.
That belongs with mac and cheese is tomato.
Tomato?
Yeah.
Tomato with mac and cheese. What? Wait, why?
'Cause it's good.
You guys you're all so weird. It sure does sound. Is that something that you have eaten, Cable? Is that like a regular thing? Applesauce on a PB&J. I mean, applesauce on a PB&J. That sounds like it kind of goes together. Ketchup is tomato. Yeah, ketchup is tomato with a lot of sugar and vinegar, though, Bethany. So there's a little bit of additional ingredient there before you get to ketchup is tomato. Ketchup on mac and cheese sounds like army food. Yeah, it kind of does a little bit. Ketchup on mac and cheese, you might. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is it sounds like Georgia spaghetti is what it is. I do enjoy it, yes. Not that I typically seek out putting applesauce on mac and cheese. Army Foods wishes it were so good. I guess that's true. I've had hot sauce on spaghetti before. Well, adding a little bit of hot sauce to food, I understand, because getting a little bit of spice in there is fine. But that's one thing. But there's a dish called Georgia spaghetti, which is literally where you take mac and cheese, but rather than putting the cheese sauce in, you just put ketchup in it, and it's like Georgia spaghetti or something, or Alabama spaghetti. It's one of the southern states in spaghetti. One of my favorite childhood snacks was PB&J with a slice of cheese, or just peanut butter with a slice of cheese. That is very odd, Lyoko. Those are such conflicting flavors. And look, I grew up eating a lot of poverty food. My family was very poor, so I've had my fair share of weird things to eat. Oh yeah, I know. I also think it's weird to put tomato with mac and cheese, but I mean, if you guys enjoy it, it's not something that I'm necessarily going to try. But if you guys enjoy it, whatever you like. I've had pineapple and shrimp on pizza. Oh, Matty, no. Why? That's so gross. Pineapple on pizza is bad enough because of the conflicting flavors. But, Tyson, I'll tear up a peanut butter and honey sandwich. That's the good stuff. Peanut butter and honey is good. I am unhinged and my childhood norms reflected that, apparently, Lyoko. But hey, that's why you're Lyoko Kowalski, right? The secret agent. It was once in my defense. Again, that just sounds awful. Alright, let's get back to songs. Oh, you guys are unhinged sometimes. If I wasn't hungry before I come on, nothing about this conversation should be making anybody hungry. Strawberry jam and peanut butter sandwich. Yeah, I'd do that. Strawberry jam and peanut butter on a sandwich is good. It was worse than it sounds. I can only imagine. Oh no, mine is mac and cheese. Mac and the cheese and ketchup. I know, that's why I was saying it sounds, that sounds odd. I mean, again, I can kind of see the flavors working. But yeah, gosh. Nothing about this conversation should be making anybody hungry. Alright, let's do it. Here. My late grandma accosted me for it, as she should have. That was appropriate, like parenting downward, that was appropriate. Alright, my mother told me, friends. Amy's mac and cheese, though. Oh, so like the organic mac and cheese? Is that what it is? Am I thinking about that correctly? Is it Amy's or Annie's? Or are those two different things? Alright, my mother told me. My mother told me someday I would buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores, stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen, hew many foemen. My mother told me someday I would buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores. My mother told me someday I would buy galley with good oars, sails to distant shores, stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen, hew many foemen. My mother told me someday I would buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores. My mother told me someday I would buy galley with good oars, sails to distant shores, stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven, hew many foemen, hew many foemen. Think of the song, my friends. I've also had blueberries on pizza once too. That was homemade. That also sounds terrible. I'm also happy to announce that my story doesn't have a god of pineapple pizza. Just one food, so I guess pineapple pizza falls under that, but still just food. Acceptable. I will still read it then, Matty. Annie's is different. Okay, so Amy's and Annie's are two different brands. Okay. Because we get Annie's mac and cheese because they sell it here, but I don't know if I've ever heard of Amy's. But I mean, look, I eat strange things. There are strange things that I enjoy. Like I like Braunschweiger sandwiches with cheese, and that's odd. Like Braunschweiger is just rendered liver. It's basically liverwurst. So some people, but that's a very European thing as well. Yeah, the Brits put corn on their pizza, and that's a sin. You should never do that. The Brits got corn from the States, and they were like, what do we do with this? Put it on the Italians' food and make them angry. Oh, Amy's is a frozen dinner. Okay. All right, I understand. Corn was always served with pizza when I was in public school. I never understood that. I don't understand that either. Why? That's so strange. My stepdad put mustard on pumpkin pie. Oh, that doesn't sound right. Hugbee's made a video about how no one culture can agree what goes on pizza. Look, there are two people. Look, I will trust the Italians, since generally it's agreed that pizza is an Italian food. So whatever the bulk of Italians, especially old Italian grandmothers, say, and whatever Gordon Ramsay says, those are the people who I am willing to listen to. Matthew loves. I thought that said brainwashers. I was like, I don't know what that is, Ashley. But what are you admitting to about your husband? But it says Braunschweisser. What is Braunschweiser? Is it Braunschweiser or Braunschweisser? Is it German? So is it Braunschweiser? Yeah, ketchup or mustard on pumpkin pie sounds terrible. The only thing that should ever be on pumpkin pie is so much whipped cream that you can't see the pumpkin pie. That's the only way to eat pumpkin pie. Oh, Braunschweiger. Okay. Never mind, I understand. Braunschweiger, yes. Braunschweiger is very good. I like it a lot anyways. I think I'm going mustard if I had to choose. On pumpkin pie, yeah, if you had to choose between pumpkin pie with mustard or with ketchup, I would probably do ketchup too. I mean, I would probably do mustard. Mustard would probably be a more complementary flavor to pumpkin pie than ketchup, I think. Neither one would be good, but there's just... I murdered it. No, it's all right. It's fine. I thought it was like a beer or something, but no, you're good. Syrup on pineapple pizza, Canadian classic. Oh, there are some sins that just can't be forgiven. Typos are the spice of life. Yeah, yes they are. Okay, let's do... we're going to do black as the color next. Speaking of butchering spelling, how did that happen? Pepperoni and pineapple with jalapenos is good. See, I don't even really like jalapenos on pizza because I think that the flavor is overpowering. But, like a pepperoni and jalapeno pizza I can do. And I can do, like, you can put a lot of things on pizza and it's good, but just, the only fruit that really belongs on pizza is tomato, for being honest. What did Maddie do? Ketchup on cheesecake, mama. Oh, that also sounds terrible. What is going on? I mean, I've had ketchup on cake before. Like, if you put ketchup on, like, just like a plain cake, like a vanilla cake with buttercream frosting, you put ketchup on it, it actually, like, especially if it's a dry cake. Pepperoni and onions is good. Yeah, pepperoni and onions is good. I can't have onions or tomato anymore, which is sad. So I can't eat a lot of my favorite foods because most of my favorite foods have like tomato and onion in them, but I can't have them anymore. I can't even have peppers anymore because now if I eat spicy foods, it hurts me, so I can't do that. Which is sad. Because I used to eat really spicy foods. Like I used to eat like ghost pepper and Carolina Reaper jerky. I love it. All right. Okay, let's see. This doesn't seem right, but... Black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like Summer rose is fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands, and I love the ground whereon she stands. I love my love, and well she knows. I love the ground whereon she goes. I wish the day it soon would come, where she and I could be as one. Black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like summer roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands. I love the ground whereon she stands. I go to the Clyde, and I mourn and weep, for satisfied I ne'er can be. I write her a letter, just a few short lines, and suffer death 1,000 times. Black is the color of my true love's hair. Her lips are like summer roses fair. She has the sweetest smile and the gentlest hands, and I love the ground whereon she stands. That's it. I don't remember that being it, but that's all there is, and that's on Christy Moore's website, so if that's what the man says it is, that's what the man says it is. It sounds like we're in a Ketchup Anonymous group tonight, Ketchup Fiends. It's exactly what it sounds like, Ashley. Looks like a bunch of people confessing their ketchup sins to me, like I'm the ketchup priest or something. I've had a few people over the years that say they like hot, so I have some hot sauce that is made of Trinidad Scorpion and Carolina Reaper peppers. 800,000 Scoville units. It's called Extreme Regret. I can only imagine. See, Tyson, I could handle that from here down to here, and then it would tear me up on the way out. And then when I went to bed that night, it would also tear me up. I remember there being another verse, but that might just be in my head. I swear my stepfather had an asbestos tongue. The level of chili sauce that man could tolerate would kill most people. Yeah, alright, I got to go finger paint all my food items with ketchup before I go to bed. Kevo, thank you for coming in. It was lovely to have you. I hope we'll see you back again for story time. May you rest well and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Thank you for coming in with your friends, and I hope you enjoyed your trip to the tavern. If this is the last time we ever see you, I hope you did enjoy. And if we see you again, well, it means that you marked us on your map, and you were meant to come back to the tavern for more stories. Castle, I have a preference for ketchup on chicken curry pie. See, but ketchup on chicken is pretty good. Like I don't mind that. Ketchup confessionals, all hail the ketchup. Confess thy sins to the ketchup priests. Matty is on his 19th cult, I think. Starting over here. Puffs up proudly. I started this rant for once in months. This was a good one too. The ketchup rant will go down in history. Alright, let's get Misty Mountains out of the way so I can send you heathens off to bed. Always a pleasure, Bear. I appreciate you being around to help keep the bars in order. I mean, at some point we're going to have to in case I get contacted by somebody who wants to know. Somebody's like, hey, do you know this illustrious cult leader who is founded over 237 cults? I was like, no, that's Matty. He's just a doofus who talks too much. He doesn't actually run any of the cults that he's talked about. And they'll be like, I don't know. And then I'll just show them my chat log. And they'll be like, all right, understandable, have a nice day. All right, let's get Misty Mountain out of the way. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flaming spread. The trees like torches blazed with light. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. Their shadows lay, be night or day. The dark things silent crept beneath. The wind went on from west to east. All movement in the forest ceased, but shrill and harsh across the marsh, its whistling voices were released. Farewell we call to hearth and hall. The wind may blow and rain may fall, we must away ere break of day. Far o'er the wood and mountain tall, misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep, and caverns old. We must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten gold. Shiitake mushroom, hello and welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. I'm Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story, and then at the end of those stories we all sing songs together. I'm so very glad that you can make it. Ashley said, thank you, my friend, for a wonderful evening. So glad to be back. We're very glad to have you back. I'm glad you and your family are feeling better, and I'm glad that you and Mateus are thriving again. It is absolutely wonderful to hear. Thank you, Castle, for another enjoyable afternoon of storytelling shanties and ketchup rants. Thank you kindly for visiting. It is my absolute pleasure. This is so sick. Oh my god. How have I been stuck on the gaming side of Twitch for so long? Well, to be fair, our side of Twitch is not widely promoted because there's not a whole lot of money in it. So we tend to fall a little bit more to the wayside along, fall to the back of all of the ASMR channels and the gaming channels. But we're glad to have you, and we'll look forward to seeing you back. Again, I'm Castle. I'm not the only one you'll see here. My lovely wife and sometimes our child you'll see on here. She reads on Sundays, and she reads typically more high fantasy things. Well, we have a quite a large community of writers. The lady and I also write books. I'm a writer. I haven't published yet, but I promise it's going to happen. I believe in you. I know that you will. And oh yeah, Coda and Boo too. We have the Hound and Panther, which are our mitochondria pets. They are not very intelligent, but they're handsome, so that's how they've survived. But yeah, we read stories on Tuesdays and Thursdays is when I read. And then on Mondays and Wednesdays we go through games and movies and things like that. And then on Sunday the lady reads. And we also have a rather large community of writers and readers that all are very supportive of one another. So it's very good to have you. If you would like to join the guild is through Guilded. It's sort of like a Discord, but it has a few different features. You can grab one of the folks who has a sword, and they would help you get in. Or you can shoot me a message here, and I'll help you get in if that's something that you're interested in. Now, unfortunately, you've come to us at the end, but if everyone could welcome our new friend, Shiitake Mushroom, that would be wonderful. It's a fantastic... Oh, Lyoko, you're too kind. Thank you kindly. And we open portals on all of the major ways that you can do so. You stumble into this magic tavern through a portal, and then you come in for stories. You can find those portals on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Kick, and Twitch, of course, which is where you are now. Gute Nacht, mein Bruder. Gute Nacht, Tyson. Always lovely to have you, my friend. Erin totally not prompting me at every chance, right? We haven't seen Squeeze for a while. That's true. I should make sure that the lady brings him out. It is summertime, so he's a little bit more active now. So maybe we'll have a Squeeze appearance on... Sunday. So we don't have... Oop, hang on. I'm embarrassingly happy I started a rant tonight. And again, it was a good one. Yeah, Matty can help you get in if you have any... wait, hang on. Why didn't... Oh, it's because I forgot. That should bring up... Maybe? Perhaps? No. Okay, never mind. Yeah, you can shoot me or Matty a message, and we'll help you get in on the aftermath. But now, sadly, friends, the door. It should come up, but it's not. Should just whisper to me, Chitaki, and or to Matty, and I'll make sure that you get in. It's a bit of a process because of the way that the platform has changed, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it once you're in. If you're deep involved in the loving of fantasy and of stories and all of the like, the guild is the place to be. So, my friends, this is Sunday. You were talking about Squeeze, that tickled me. Yeah, I'll see if we can get the lady to give Squeeze a little bit of time out of his tank on Sunday for everyone. Alright friends, this is where we end today. If you are on Twitch, we are going to raid one of our fellow storytelling friends if they are aware and available to share the love. I'm way too excited about finding this. Well, we're very glad to have you. We hope you'll become a regular. And you have marked us on your map now, so you should be able to find your way back to the tavern the very next time that you desire a story. But until then, my friends, while it is sad that the doors must close, they will open again. The lady and the boy will be back tomorrow with Lies of P. Because it is... the story is heating up and they are enjoying it quite a bit. And then I will, of course, be back on Thursday with more story time. So, my friends, until then, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty. And I will see you next time. Good night, everyone.